Do it.
What a night we got for you guys. What a show. Look at that panel, buddy. Look at that panel. Outstanding show for you guys tonight. Very excited as YouTube kind of creeps and goes a little bit slower than I'd like here as my own screen catches up with live time. Guys, outstanding show for you guys. Look at that great panel, by the way. You guys know you're in for a treat when you see a panel that great. All right, I'm just here literally to enjoy it and listen to what this amazing panel has to say. Nonetheless, I want to say I really enjoyed the past 24 hours for multiple reasons. First of all, I said it last night, grabbed a few drinks, enjoyed a great show. I think the show has progressively gotten better, the Game Awards. I think they've worked on their timing a bit. We're going to get into this as we go through, but it was just a great way to celebrate games and gaming in our beloved pastime, you know. So it really was a lot of fun, and of course it comes with a bit of controversy here and there. So that's what makes a great show for you guys tonight. Please, as we kind of get all situated in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Your name comes up in lights. Tweet it out, call a family member, let them know we're live here in New York. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and just say that I wrote an outstanding description for tonight. You know, and it's funny because I always go around, I say this all the time. I go around, I watch a lot of different YouTube. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be gaming or not gaming. Sports, could be anything. And I always look at the description. I think the description is really important. That's an outstanding description. And it's only a piece of what we're going to be talking about tonight. But if you look right above that description is the join button. And for all those great people you see in the chat, JC 2013, I see Truth Serum. The great Jimmy Harrison was here. Silent Merc was here earlier as well. I see the great Zuby Tech, by the way. Shout out to Zuby Tech. Guys, it's after midnight over there in England. He's here for us. Zuby doing all that news and reporting for our benefit. Thank you, Zuby, for being here. Thanks for doing what you do on Twitter, or X now, if you will. But right above that description is the join button, and that's the Mooch Maniac family members that you see in green, and it means the world to me that these guys really contribute and help the channel grow. We've got a Mooch Maniac family member on the panel tonight as well. So I want to go ahead and thank each one of these gentlemen one by one and say thank you from the bottom of my heart. The great JudaZuk, WoolleyGamer, MumbleRanting Gaming, Tyson Web 509, TrueWiddy, Alphonso Carter, Brap, Jamie, Damien, the great Jimmy Harrison, Andy Hart, Red Hood 420, Ham Solo 05, Rob Jones, Night Ripper 7, Toto Dope, Thumbs, JC 2013, Passive Prophet, Lord Metroid, Rabbit Got the Gun, Fastbender, Archmore Angel, Biggity 08, Slow-Mo Backslap. By the way, check out Slow-Mo Backslap and the great Gaming Forte, who may be joining us later on halfway through the show, as they do DPS podcasts on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Go over and check those guys out. Henry Heck, Ice Queen Gaming, Silent Merc, our major Mooch Maniacs, our newest one, Christian the Bad Gamer. I love the name. PlayStation 5 Sweden. Sweden's in the house. X Abbott, 4-Star General, AD, Truth Serum, RPG 88. Your boy Roy, who you're going to hear from shortly. Scolari Brothers, Smokes 901, DC Gaming, Miko, Gaming with Persona, and the great Jay Barry, who are back tomorrow with a What's Up PlayStation, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's how I start my Saturday. I totally recommend that's how you start yours. I'm seeing some great guys from the past in the chat. Shout out to Matthew Henderson. Great to see Matthew here. Great to see, God, I gotta look at real quick. I have to give him a shout out real quick. He hasn't been here in forever. Doggy Dog 420. Shout out to Doggy Dog. He's here. It's gonna be great. Great show. I've seen a lot of old favorites here. Got my good friends here, Tactical Gamer, Danelle Brown, That Guy Smitty, Brian B. I feel like they're going to play that music on me right now, so I have to get off stage quicker. Hold on, I apologize. A VIP Mooch Maniac, General Thad, Ape, Shadow Assassin, Raji, Domino Zero, The Wise Old Gamer, and our honorable mentions. They're out there without food, water, or toilet. The great Edward Jordan, Supreme Samurai, Julian Johnson, and our forever Mooch Maniacs, Longshot 316, and the great Optimus Code. I'm just so excited. We've got 12 topics. People are saying we're not going to get to 4 of them. That may be the case. But I got news for you. We're going to go ahead and start introducing this panel right now. Again, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Tweet it out. Let people know we are live. But you guys know he has batteries that apparently just don't run out. Okay? He just did a brap rant, and now he's here to rant here. The Great Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Brap! Brap, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, Mooch, what's going on, man? Great to be here. It's Friday. I meant to call you earlier, but I
was wondering.
Up, so. Yeah, how to get that BP up, man? But I, got tied up.
Well,
great to be here.
Great to have you here. To be honest with you, we got a lot to talk about. I think you saw the topics. It's already going to be. You are very active on Twitter. You had your own Brap rant, so I know you're ready and primed to go, Brap.
Oh yeah, I got a lot to say. And go Yankees, by the way.
Well, let's not go there, Brap. But nonetheless,
they just picked up Juan Soto.
They did get Juan Soto, but you know what? I got to tell you, how many more bats are they going to get? They got to work on their pitching. I know they got cold, but they need more pitching. I don't
disagree.
All right. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the great Gamers Gamut, who's back with us tonight. I said, Gamut, can you do me a favor? You've always got great opinions. You got great takes. Let's see what you got tonight with this unbelievable list of topics I got. Gamut, how you doing this evening?
Good, man. I appreciate the invite. I'm happy and glad to be here with you guys again after the holidays and everything. So yeah, especially being the Game Awards episode, this is going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody else thinks of the show.
Absolutely.
I have my own thoughts. I'll save them for down the line there, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good one.
You already know the rules, Gambit. You chime in whenever you want to. Let me tell you, this next gentleman here, this was a very difficult person. Do you know the negotiating I do sometimes behind the scenes to get people on the show? It's unbelievable. The great K-Med is back. He says, Mooch, I got a lot going on. Not sure I can make it. 2 hours is going to be... I go, listen, Kay, how about the first hour? So we negotiated. I think I've got him for 72 minutes. 72 minutes, and I'm going to take every single one of them. The great K-Med's back. Kay, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Man, I am excited, dude. It's been a hell of a year in gaming, and the last 24 hours has been epic. So, yeah, man, I got lots of opinions, and can't wait to get to some of these topics, man.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you being here. The great Dr. Martin Van Nostrand says, Mooch, your shout-outs were longer than Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3's campaign. Whoa! Hey. Listen, Doctor, please wait till we get to the first topic. I know you're going to be excited to hear that one. Listen, without further ado, the great David Faulkner is with us tonight, too. David, it's very difficult to get you because you're literally already into tomorrow, okay? It's already tomorrow in Australia. You've already had your breakfast. At this point, I'll be honest with you. If you got up early enough, you probably had lunch. You probably already had lunch. Now, David, you can be on. I see that David already kicked on his camera. We're not doing camera on air today, but Dave, it's always great to see you. So however you want to be, it's fine with me. But David, how you doing this evening, or for you this morning?
Yeah, doing well. We made it to the next day, and it's just the biggest shit show as it was yesterday. So nothing's changed. Everything continues. No, it's doing well. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate the invite. Stacked panel. Looking forward to the conversation.
Great. Good to have you here, David. And there's actually, I've tried to poise a certain topic to a certain panel member because I know that they've been really opinionistic throughout the week. So, David, I've got one for you later in the show. I got the great Chris Righteous with us tonight. You know, Chris has got a no-nonsense policy on Twitter, and that's what I love about having him on the show. Chris speaks his mind. He doesn't have a favorite console. He doesn't have a favorite this or a favorite that. He tells you where he prefers to play, but if there's a problem even on his preferred platform, he's going to let you know. The great Chris Righteous is with us tonight. Chris, how you doing this evening, buddy?
Yo, what's going on, Mooch, and the rest of the panel, and everybody in the chat, man? Hope everybody's doing good tonight. It's been a hell of a week for gaming. It's definitely gaming Christmas this week. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk about these topics, and I'm excited.
All right, well, Chris, great to have you here. Make sure you chime in whenever you want to. The great your boy Roy. Roy hits me up about 3-4 weeks ago. I had to keep double checking the DMs to see what he's like. Mooch, put me down for December 8th. I said, buddy, it's a done deal. It's a done deal. You're already on. Don't worry about it. He goes, I got a lot to say, and I want to say it after the Game Awards. I said, listen, Roy, not a problem. Here he is, Mooch Maniac family member as well. Roy, welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. I knew I had to get on the show after the Game Awards. I'm ready to go. Whenever Brap has his rants before CrossFire, it's my own personal cocktail hour. So I got about half a bottle left, and I'm excited to get going.
Well, it's great to have you here, buddy. I know you always enjoy a great Friday night beverage. That being said, last but certainly not least, outstanding to have him on the show again, especially when you have an award ceremony, especially when you have all this controversy going on. The great Broken Games HDR is with us again. BG, you guys know him from Weapon Wheel Podcast, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday nights. BG, great to have you on the show, buddy. This is one of the ones that I'm glad that we were able to make the schedule work for, because I think tonight you're going to absolutely own the microphone. So, BG, how you doing this evening? Oh, BG's muted still.
My bad.
That's all right.
What up, y'all? My bad. I was talking. I was definitely muted. Yeah. What up, Mooch? Glad to be on. Game Awards. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. What's up, panel?
Well, listen, BG, I'm going to go ahead and put you on the hot seat first and foremost. I got to be honest with you. So we were talking about it beforehand, and I'm kind of glad you heard a couple of the panel members and what their thoughts were. I really want to hit your take, first of all, and we're going to get right into the games. We're going to talk about the length of the show, different things like that. But this controversy came out of nowhere about 12 o'clock, maybe 1 o'clock Eastern time. I saw some of the journalists, the, if you will, gaming media running with this. So, BG, yesterday, I know you watched the show. The great Christopher Judge came on, and I said he has an amazing presence on stage. He just takes over. He did an outstanding job, and then he made a bit of a jab, saying basically everyone was making fun of him for the last year about his 8-minute, speech. He said, well, and I'm paraphrasing, guys. I don't remember the exact joke, but something along the lines of my 8-minute joke or my 8-minute speech was longer than this year's Modern Warfare 3 campaign. And everyone in the audience was laughing, clapping, kind of a couple of oohs and ahs. But BG, now he's kind of under attack by former and present developers from the Call of Duty franchise. And I'm seeing the media being kind of mixed. They're kind of taking sides. Some are taking Chris's side, and some are taking the developer's side from the Call of Duty games. BG, where were you when it happened? Like, how did you think? Was it receptive? Were you laughing, clapping, or were you like, that was completely inappropriate?
So I didn't get to watch it live. I was out, but I seen the clip, the day after when I was watching everything that happened, and man, it was honestly pretty. It wasn't that bad. It was
Right.
it was a light joke. You've heard way worse. Essentially, all he did was call the campaign short, which it was. He didn't. It's not like he said the game was complete shit or it was
Right.
garbage. He didn't speak on the quality of the game. He said it was short, which it literally is by an objective measure. It's a short Call of Duty campaign. Every media site said it. Everybody who played it said it. I'm somebody who actually cares about Call of Duty campaigns because I don't care about the multiplayer. I don't play the multiplayer. So those who actually do care, the few that still exist, and the ones who played, the Call of Duty campaigns, from a long time ago, because Call of Duty had some legendary campaigns and great stories. People seem to forget that. So there's a lot of people like me who still care about the campaigns.
Yeah.
So and it's not all about it's not necessarily all about the quantity, the time. It's that the quality wasn't necessarily there either. I mean, not to spoil anything, but the campaign in this one, because it's essentially a remake or a retelling of Call of Duty. The one that came out like 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah. Yep.
They literally cut it short before the point that the original finished. So you don't even get up to the actual end of the game that you originally played. You're gonna play that part in the next game,
Right.
So it was a short game in general, and they cut off part of the game. So I don't understand how you could like be that mad at this joke, bro. Like it's a factual statement he made. The game is short, and that wouldn't be so bad once again if the quality still all there, but it wasn't that. Like literally half of the game is just Warzone. It's a Warzone mission.
That's right.
It's not even like an actual Call of Duty campaign. Half of the game is just Warzone mission with bots.
Yeah,
it's like, bro, no Call of Duty has ever played like this. So the quality wasn't there. It wasn't even like you didn't spend a lot of time in the campaign. So yeah, it was.
BG,
it was a fair criticism.
BG, I had you on the show back when the $70 controversy thing was a big deal, right? Maybe a beginning of this generation. And we were talking about this, and I remember that you I'm not saying you were enthusiastic about it, but you were like, listen, it is what it is. Where were all those $70 for DLC people when Call of Duty? I didn't see what I saw when like Returnal came out, or a couple of the early Sony games when they were blaming PlayStation. Nobody really said anything about this, and this is a lesser of a game. Even the maps, when the game launched, the maps were all older maps. The newer maps are yet to be distributed through the next few updates and seasons. So, BG, you just did a great synopsis of what the actual single player is and how we kind of got cut back there. But the multiplayer was also kind of shaved.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because, like I said, less people do care about anything about a Call of Duty campaign. So it probably gets away with that, with not having, not getting that same criticism for being a $70 game.
Yeah.
So that's probably what it is. But it's, like I said, it's a fair criticism, and it was a half-ass campaign. It's funny. We usually have in the past we had a lot of like tacked on multiplayers. Call of Duty has tacked on single players. That's clearly what this was.
Yeah.
It wasn't a full effort as you, because especially in contrast to last year's. Was it last year's? Last year's what? I can't even keep up no more. But I think it was 2 years ago because they skipped over this one story to go to another one. But the one 2 years ago, when you play that story, that campaign, it's night and day.
Night and day better.
It's like the love and all the effort went into that campaign. This one, it's like throw some shit together. And there was rumors about it being developed in like 16 months. At first, I didn't believe that, and they did refute and say that's not true. But I mean, it doesn't. When you play the campaign, I'm like, this doesn't seem too far from the truth that y'all made this in 16 months or whatever it was.
Yeah. No, in all honesty, I know that they refuted it, but if it wasn't 16, 17, 18 months, it was not much more than that. It just doesn't seem like a lot went into it. Brap, BG made some really good points. Brap, did you also? I mean, I know, Brap, did you get a chance to watch the Game Awards live?
I did, yeah. I heard his joke. I laughed.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was it's kind of like tongue in cheek, but it's like PG said, he didn't say anything about the quality of the game. He was saying something that's been all over, and it's been in print for the past 2 months now.
Yeah, I mean, like the reaction by some of the gaming community and really by the developers at Sledgehammer, like, guys, really, you and your fragile egos over a joke? Like, stop. Yeah. Some of the developers were, well, we saw more than God of War ever did. Ha ha ha.
Oh my God.
Like seriously, like that's actually a little more cringe than his joke. Like that your ego's that fragile that you're gonna come on Twitter and be like, yeah, we saw more than you. Like really? Like you guys are adults. Like I just, I didn't think the reaction by some of the developers at Sledgehammer was commensurate with what he said. Maybe that speaks to the culture issues there and the kind of, that toxic culture we've heard about at ABK.
How do you think this?
I didn't think it was a big deal. It's not like he came out there and said, "Oh, this game is trash. It's terrible."
How does this affect the Game Awards moving forward, though, Brap? And anybody wants to chime in, please go ahead, Brap. You know what I mean? Because like next year, do you think people aren't gonna they won't even feel comfortable? Because would you even want to get on stage next year and make a fun joke in any way, shape, or form? When you know that somebody in the audience is then, is going to, go on X and then make a comment against you and then, kind of drag you through. I mean, I don't know. I think it affects it, and that was not necessary. I don't understand it. That it was kind of harmless.
Because now it makes makes it seem like the industry is full of a bunch of snobs who can't take a joke.
Exactly.
Full of highbrow snobs who live in the hills who can't take a joke. And when the industry, we would like to look at the gaming industry and its developers as more your average person, and it's also weird because a lot of some of the developers who were like taking that joke personally. I'm like, I don't think a lot of y'all have even. Y'all are not. These are not like even high level like developers who have necessarily been with Activision or whichever studio, whichever Call of Duty studio that long. I'm like, this is not like you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you've been at the studio your whole life or something like that. So to take it so personally, we're not talking about your mother.
It's not your life.
I'd be calling them into the office real quick if I was the boss man.
If I'm like Sledgehammer PR, like get in front of that and say, hey, you know what? The team worked hard. We delivered the best Call of Duty experience. We look forward to supporting the players and working on the next version of Call of Duty. Like, don't let your developers, like, that's what I'm actually surprised, like, that no one has kind of said, hey guys, wait a minute, or some kind of internal email has gone out and say, hey, wait a minute, don't go out there and publicly act like a child and start throwing sales numbers at a Chris Judge. Like, to me, that's just like,
to poke fun at anybody would have been COD, right? I mean, it wasn't like some small indie studio or some single dev, right? It was COD. It's a fucking giant, right? It's like poking fun at Disney or, I mean, take the hit and move on.
Go ahead, BG. Sorry, the thing that I find the funniest as hell about this whole thing is the same media organizations that are making a massive beat up about this are the same media organizations that tore shreds off Chris last year for his speech.
Yeah.
And instead of complaining and pushing back against it, this whole time, to his credit, Chris Judge has said, yep, I know it was long, and it could have been longer, and I'm going to take the piss out of it, and I'm going to make it a funny thing instead of a sook or a problem. I'm not going to whinge about it. I'm going to make fun of this, and he's continued to make fun of it for the whole year, even though those media organizations keep tearing into him about it. He makes a slight joke, which, come on, some of the stuff that gets said about COD by these media organizations is far worse than what he's just said. And then they take it, make a negative position on it, and tear into him about how dare he make fun of all these devs. It's not it's not unknown that it's a short campaign. It's a short campaign by design.
Yeah.
That's not the devs' fault. That's management's fault. But these media organizations are doing the exact opposite to what they did to Chris 12 months ago. And it's the same people doing the same thing. So they can go bash one for all I care.
Right, they can go bash one because it's like, at the end of the day, as a gamer, right, I'm the one suffering because I get a lackluster game. I get a half-ass game. I get a game that you basically sold as DLC. So if you're butthurt that someone made a joke about you, what about me being butthurt that I paid $70 for this crap,
Yeah, and I think, like to Falky's point, like, he talks about the media. I mean, the media panned this game in the reviews, cited that the game was too short, the single-player game, or campaign. I mean, like, Chris isn't saying anything that hasn't been already critiqued in reviews. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the response by the developers is just childish. Look, they look to me. It's like you guys could have just easily just taken the high ground and not said anything, but except you went out and you went on Twitter or X and just had a big tantrum about it.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat are saying things like, well, COD it still sold well. No one's talking about sales of any game. Myself personally,
it's not the conversation.
Yeah, it kind of gets back to what I asked Brap and what BG just answered on, and then you see what K just brought up as well. Is this has a ramification? This will now lead to, the show maybe being less like funny, or someone coming out with a joke, or maybe if a comedian is a special guest next year, they'll be like, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything here. But like I said, when you go back and watch the Oscars, Emmys, decades before, there was a ton of jabs like this from either actor to actor, or sometimes studio to studio, or sometimes actor to studio, depending on if they got snubbed in a major role or something like that, or something. And so, like, there's a bunch of stuff that goes back and forth. It will change the dynamic, I think, moving forward. So this isn't a question about sales. I mean, Call of Duty's Call of Duty. We know what Call of Duty is and what it will be for the foreseeable future. I mean, that's my thing. Chris, what did you think when you saw this? I know that we talked a little bit about it before the show started, but what do you think? The great Chris Righteous, got to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are just being too sensitive nowadays. I didn't see. I didn't. From what I heard, like I said, I think at that part I was tuned out, so I didn't actually get to see it. But from what you guys told me, all it was just what he said something like, "Oh, my speech is longer than the Call of Duty campaign." So what? So what? Because that was the main complaint of this year's Call of Duty campaign, was that it felt like a $70 DLC, and it was very short compared to other Call of Duty's campaign. You know what I mean? And that. All the reviewers said it. Whatever. Christopher Judge is not a reviewer. He just made a joke on stage, and I think these devs need to get the penny, out the bunch. You know what I mean? So, I don't know what else to say. I just think that it's just a ridiculous thing to be upset about, if anything.
No, I agree with you, Chris. So, BG, we'll step off and kind of get off the Christopher Judge joke for a minute here. One of the things we've all been critical for the past decade. You remember, BG, we would be talking about the Game Awards. I'm talking about back before it was the ones that we currently know, where it was a very, very low budget. There was very little advertising involved. What did you think as we kind of progressed through? Was the pacing, the length of the show? I mean, what about even like the way that they kind of played some of the people off with the orchestra music saying, "Hey, you're taking too long." What was good, bad, and ugly about the show? And I'm not talking about, again, it doesn't have to be a person. I'm talking about just the show's length and the flow of the program.
Yeah. So like I said, I didn't get to watch it live this time, but so I don't know. I can't really speak to the flow, but I did see that, they were kind of rushing the winners off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What did they get? 15, 20 seconds? I don't even, it looked pretty
30
I thought it was 30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 30 seconds when, it's like a 3-hour show. So you need to remove some of the fluff of the other less important things to give them at least probably 45 seconds a minute, and also I think they had, sometimes they read off some of the winners for the categories, like just, they don't get to, the winners don't get to get on stage. They just announce them in in a quick fashion and move on very passively. And I think they might have done that for best RPG, if I'm not mistaken. I heard that. Like I said, I didn't get to see it, but I think they might have done that for best RPG, and that's an important category. So you're kind of disrespecting, the people who make the games and the point of the award show. It's an award show, so the people who win the award should probably get a little shine. It's called an award show, so they should probably switch that up. And Jeff Keighley did actually respond to that on Twitter. He said they will adjust and respond to that. And it's weird because they seem to have shortened it from last year. I don't know why they shortened it, but yeah, they should probably fix
keeping the acceptance speech to under a minute. I understand, maybe 45 seconds, a little closer or to a minute, because the one thing, and I know that I believe it was Jason Schreier. If it wasn't Jason, I saw his tweet. So I don't know if he was the editor, but it was the point of the matter that the awards show has kind of gone from, and Kay, what do you think about this? I'm going to go to K-Med on this. Kay, the awards show has gone from honoring the greats that make our video games. This is what BG was just talking about. It's a bit disrespectful to have them come off, but yet we had tremendous amounts of advertising. And even a lot of people in the chat are saying it. Kojima got 8 minutes to just sit there and promote and kind of talk about his new game. And it's like that. Don't get me wrong. I thought that was an important segment, but Kay, he got like 8 minutes, and then the Baldur's Gate folks had 30 seconds.
Well, I mean, we all know how much Keighley likes Kojima, but
that's his butt buddy.
But yeah, man, I think we're at a place where it's been like 10 years, right, for the TGAs. I think we're going to see a shift, man. These shows are getting pricier, right? So I get the need for advertising. I get the need for, good pacing to keep people engaged, right? The viewers matter in this case. So, I do understand that the logistics of a show this size is probably pretty daunting. But it did definitely seem like it was more of an E3 than it is an award show, and maybe that's the way that it's morphing, right? Maybe it becomes just some, a couple players' choices awards and then a bunch of new trailers and shit. I'm thinking he's at this crossroads. He's definitely going to be thinking about how, this show looks going forward in the next 10 years, right? So, But yeah, I wouldn't want to be in his position, right? How do you make everybody happy? You don't. So maybe it does just morph into an E3 with trailers, advertising, new games, console reveals, shit like that. Or he could go straight awards, right? But we already have DICE and those kinds of shows for.
I mean, that's what brings the eyeballs, right? Is that's why we all watch, right? It's the new E3. That's why I watch. So I mean, I can't be the only one.
It's kind of the biggest gaming event, out there. And honestly, what was funny is I asked my wife if she wanted to watch it, and she games pretty casually, right? She's never watched one of these things, and she genuinely enjoyed the show, right? So that might say something because she doesn't know about the dev, she doesn't know she was really in it for the trailers. Some of the speeches were kind of nice, like she almost got teary-eyed at that last Baldur's Gate speech about losing people along the way and whatnot. But mostly it's just she was in it. Her eyeballs were glued for the new trailers, right? And the new games coming out and kind of what to get excited for. So maybe that is, what the general audience wants to see. Maybe it needs to be 2 shows. Maybe it needs to be 2 days, right? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it is pretty long. I think it's getting a little long. I do think if anything could get trimmed, I think it would be some of the music stuff. As cool as it is, and some of the projects that they've had, like
I think so. The length of it, Gamut. I know where you're coming from, but really, this thing used to go 4 hours, sometimes 4 hours plus. This thing, if you're talking about the game show itself, the Game Awards, it was 8 to 11 Eastern time. It did start at 7:30, I believe, with Sydney, and she did some of the earlier, some of the, and that's again the same thing that the Oscars do. When they're doing red carpet at the Oscars, they'll also have a couple of awards that go out, and I don't want to say they're smaller awards, they're not, but they can't fit them all during the show, so they have a few before. So Sydney did the ones prior, and then the show. The show being 3 hours. If you guys think it should be shorter, I respect your opinion. I think a 3-hour award show. I thought the pacing was very, very good. I do want to say shout out to you, boy, Roy. Roy, thank you so much for the super chat. It's working. Looks like the super chat is working for my end. Thank you so much for that, your boy, Roy. But Roy, what do you think? And Gamut just said something, Roy. It's not like an award show and that's it. All right, we're getting announcements. You're getting more announcements than you are actually hearing from the developers and the awards. So is this becoming more like a winter E3?
Oh, it was a winter E3 even before this show, and it really shows us how important E3 was. And I think I really wish they did something to bring it back. I think maybe it needs to be more than one night, and maybe you have an announcement night and then an award show night. I'm happy that Jeff actually created this show for us because I look forward to it every year. It's great for gamers, but I think it's almost like he pushes his own agenda a little bit more than he should. I think at this point, it's almost like the show that he created is bigger than himself. So stop having your BFF Kojima and kissing his ass and giving him a 20-minute segment. And when I was watching it, I thought it was a little disrespectful to the people who won the awards, that it was like, oh, hurry up, you're just kind of getting in the way. I'm only using you to, push my agenda and make some money. So I wish that he would show a little bit more love to the developers and to the people who won the awards. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to lie, I don't watch the show for the awards. I don't care who wins. I have my own awards in my head. I watch the show because of the announcements. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I think there needs to be, they need to sit down and figure out what they need to do to move forward to please both sides of the argument. Should it be an announcement show or should it be an award show? So, but overall, I love the show. But I hope they just grow it or maybe it is the new winter E3 and we have some more showcases throughout the week.
Well, let me do this. And I
don't know.
Go ahead. I apologize.
Sorry, I've got a slight delay. Internet in Australia is great. I don't know why Jeff's asking for the public's opinion on how to fix this supposed problem he's got. If you need to work out the timing, he's already got a template with Summer Games Fest. You've got a session at the start of opening night where you've got all those trailers and world premieres and all that crap. do that as a 2-hour show and then do the awards as a separate hour at the back end, or totally separate on a different day, or something like that. Yeah, I know the reason why he blends them together is to make sure that he's got plenty of people watching, so he can then charge a premium for the people that are showing up to the awards, and then saying, well, you need to be here because we've got 70, 80, 90, 100 million people watching. Winning an award when you got that many people watching for trailers is a little bit cheap towards the game developers, though, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. But the thing is, though, David, just to play devil's advocate with you, is if you go back years ago, it was more about having developers come on, sit down. Remember, he had couches, and he would sit down with them, and he would talk to developers, and it was almost like those original like Xbox On shows where people were coming on and they were talking about their game and this and that. And a lot of people were like, this is too boring. I'm falling asleep. I'm not going to watch this for 3.5 hours. So now what he's done is he's gone much more commercialized. Like you said, the Game Awards are even bigger than he at this point. So, I mean, you had Matthew McConaughey, and I will say this much. There was a few people who said I didn't like the celebrities being on the show. And I don't know if they meant in general or this year. I thought the celebrities this year were interesting because they weren't just coming on because they were a big name or somebody that makes a lot of but they were people that are in games or being featured in games or working with a team to be a voice actor or contributing even on the developing side. So I thought the celebrity push was much better. The music was decent. I thought that the orchestra that played for Hellblade 2, which we'll get into the gameplay right after this. I want to talk about the games and the gameplay that we saw. I thought that was very good. And then, of course, the performance, and pardon me for not having it written down here, but the performance, the Alan Wake 2 band/orchestra that came out, and you had Sam Lake out there. What does
Old
Sam...
Gods of Asgard.
He was loving. He was
Brad.
cheesing out there dancing.
Dude,
I love to see it.
Roy, what does Sam Lake not do? He's an author. He's a game developer. He's a movie director, and now we know he can tap dance. I mean, the man does everything. My two favorite game developers, if you will, or writers, or he does everything, or directors, are Ken Levine and Sam Lake. These are very creative minds. They make very different types of video games, and they really kind of they engulf you into their story, and it's just so. Some of them are so out there that you just love every minute as you kind of adventure through that world. But I thought that was very good. I did want to say real quick, I don't want to take too much time here. We have such a panel. But just so the audience knows, I'll go real quick down the list of games. I do want to talk games here for a minute. And I want to ask the panel what they thought thrived and what really kind of didn't set the tone for them the right way. Kojima's official Cloud Xbox project titled OD. The free God of War DLC, Valhalla, that'll be coming out. Marvel's Blade. We're going to talk a lot about that in a few moments. Sega announced a massive list of retro games or games that they're going to be bringing back. Embarks the finals. We know that. No Man's Sky. But we're going to get into No Man's Sky. Shout out to Sean Murray for having the guts to do what we thought he would never do again, and he did it again last night. Final Fantasy 16 DLC, which is out right now. Rise of the Ronin, Skull and Bones with a release date. Lost Records, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Fortnite Rocket Racing, which I think the promo looked a lot better than some of the gameplay I saw today. BioWare's game, Big Walk, which was interesting from the original developers of the Untitled Goose Game. Kimuri looked very good. Dead by Daylight spinoff, Jurassic Park, Visions of Mana. Just pulling at the heartstrings of a lot of old time gamers that love that series. Hellblade: Senua's Saga. We're going to talk about that. Joseph Fares' Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons getting a remake. Payday. I'm just going through real quick here. I want to make sure that I hit some of the big ones here. As Dusk Falls coming to PS5, we'll talk about that a bit. I have a bunch of Mecha Break, The First Berserker, Exodus, No Rest for the Wicked. So I'm not going to go on more than that. I just wanted to give the audience an idea of just the amount of games that were shown off yesterday. So, BG, if I can go back to you again, what would you say, BG, and I know you didn't watch it live, but you definitely caught the highlights. What was a game or two that you thought shined at this show? And what was one that you saw that maybe should have shined and fell flat? Or one that you just literally said, I don't want to use the word trash, but this just is not my bag. What do you think, BG?
Yeah, I mean, there was a few games that stood out to me. The game that reminded me of like Ori.
Yes.
Not from the Ori developers. There was a game from the Ori developers.
No Rest for the Wicked.
So that looked pretty cool. The concept of that. And then the other game, Tales of Kenzera Zao. The gameplay of that seemed like Ori. And I think the director is has African roots, and the game is very African. That gameplay looked very vibrant and cool. Blade was a good addition to. I'm just concerned about the tone of it. It seemed very, at least, and it's just a cinematic CGI trailer, or whatever. But the tone of it was kind of light. And I think Blade is supposed to be just very gritty and dark.
Yes,
it seemed very lighthearted in a way. Hellblade, they finally showed some combat.
Yes.
I think there is cause for just wondering. Okay, we saw the combat. It looks fairly similar to the original. I assume there are improvements. We couldn't necessarily tell from that video because it's just highly edited.
Yeah.
So couldn't really tell if did they add things? They definitely added some new animations, but are there new actual mechanics that is what I'm unsure about. Black Myth, Valhalla, the Rogue, Ragnarok, Valhalla, the Rogue mode is going to be cool. Of course, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, one of my most anticipated games. So yeah, I mean the only thing that I think a lot of people are impressed by that I'm probably not as impressed by is like Rise of Ronin, because I don't know, to me that just seems like Neo 4.
Yep. It did.
And I've beaten Neo, I beat Wolong Fallen Dynasty. I beat all those games, but to me it just seems like an evolution of Neo. So but so it doesn't really blow me away like I think it does others.
Yep. Thank you, by the way. BG did mention, I see a lot of people in the chat saying, Mooch, you forgot Rise of the Ronin and a few others. BG just mentioned them. So the list went on and on and on. I didn't want to go through the entire list there. But yeah, BG, I kind of agree with you. I think that Rise of the Ronin does present a larger world. It looked like, remember, they showed a little bit like horseback riding, things like that. So maybe there'll be a little bit more of being able to branch out, reach out than we did in like Neo or Neo 2. But yeah, I think when it comes to Team Ninja, you kind of know what you're getting with them. And there's good to that and there's bad. The good is, you're going to get unbelievable gameplay. The bad is I don't know how much you're going to separate yourself from their past games. They haven't really left that comfortable template. Brap, I didn't get to hear too much of what you thought, and I really wanted to hear your Brap rant earlier, but I didn't get a chance to. But Brap, what did you think of the show? I mean, did you think, what game really kind of stood out for you and which one fell short?
A couple games actually stood out to me. As many of you know, I'm a big Atlas fan, love the Persona games. So Metaphor, seeing that trailer, was that really got me excited. The Exodus trailer by Archetyped Entertainment, which Matthew McConaughey came out and he's doing voice work for that particular game.
Yeah,
that game looked really good. It gave me kind of the Mass Effect vibes. And
yes.
By the way, that studio is a studio comprised of ex-Bioware developers, so that really was like, okay, this looks cool. Like the I love science fiction, so it kind of scratched that sci-fi itch for me.
Yes,
and I'm definitely looking forward to that. The other game that really, and I've always enjoyed, I really like Ori's a fantastic series, and Moon Studios super talented.
Yes, it is.
Their reveal of No Rest for the Wicked was really good. That game's also on my radar. But I gotta say, the game that was happy to see get a release date was Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah,
because I've been following the development of that game and watching every time they release a new trailer, I'm watching it, and I thought the trailer for that looked really good. So it was really cool to see that that game's actually getting a release date of next year. The other game, I got to say, obviously Blade, which we'll talk about, that was a big announcement. But Hellblade 2 looked really good, and I said this on Twitter last night. That, visually speaking, that's the kind of game that when Microsoft was marketing the power of the Series X,
yeah,
I felt like that's the kind of game, visually speaking, that I wanted to see. Logic and I were going back and forth on the Brap rant, where I was like, look, he goes, so graphics are only it for you with Xbox? I'm like, well, not that it's only it, but we don't get a lot of those wow moments, I think, with Xbox, visually speaking, like we did the Xbox 360 generation and the original Xbox generation. So that game looks really good. So I was excited to see that. So
Brap, and I apologize, I was talking to somebody in the chat. Which game did you say really kind of shined for you on the which Xbox game?
Hellblade.
Hellblade 2. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought you said. Yep.
Yeah. So there was another game. Oh shoot, now I forget. And I haven't played. I heard BG say it's like Wolong, or not Wolong. What's a game that you mentioned by Team Ninja?
Rise of the Ronin.
Oh yeah, Rise of the Ronin. Yeah.
Yeah, but you compared it to another game. I forget.
Wolong Neo.
Yeah, Neo. Yeah, Neo. Like I didn't really. I barely played Neo. And I did. Logic on Brap said it's that Rise of the Road kind of looks like a Wolong reskin. I could see that. But actually, I didn't think the Game Awards presentation of the gameplay looked that great. And then I watched the PlayStation trailer that they released, and I felt like that actually looked better. So that's on my radar. It's cool to see that it's a March 22nd release date. So I may pick that up, but obviously Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be out the month before. So
absolutely,
I get to that. But
absolutely, I
think.
Go ahead, Brett. My fault.
Yeah, no, I think it was nice to get release dates for certain games. Skull and Bones, which I thought was kind of in development hell. Not hell, I shouldn't say hell. Development hell wasn't that bad, but I thought it was having some development issues. We got a release date on that, and that's coming out February 16th, 2024, and the beta's next week. And there are also some nice stealth drops with Final Fantasy 16. We know that Baldur's Gate 3 is coming to Xbox. It's out today.
Yep.
And then we get Valhalla, the God of War DLC, next week.
Yeah, and it did come to Xbox, not on Game Pass, but it did come to Xbox. Shout out to Danelle Brown. Danelle, BG, I'm sure you must know Danelle from X, Twitter. He says, come on, BG, stop lying. We saw the pictures of you at the award show standing next to Paris. So,
brother.
yeah, I know you had to deal with that one.
Leaving
right,
that
BG?
one alone.
I'm going to leave that alone. Shout out to Jimmy
BG, that was kind of funny, though.
I'm sure, BG found it real fun, I'm sure, Brett. The great Jimmy Harrison says, best damn show ever. Love you guys, man. Jimmy, love you right back, buddy. Great to have you here with us. Comic Cuts, he says, I'm drunk and I sent this. Well, we appreciate it. And Comic Cuts has another super chat actually right here. I'll read real quick. He says, I bought an Xbox Series X today and there was an extra tax on it. Why? I get the joke, by the way. If you guys do not, the Xbox tax, everybody. Thank you very much. K-Med, you heard what Brap said. I'm going to ask you the same question, okay? But now I'm going to actually throw a bit of a curveball at you, Kay. So what game did you think was great? What game did you think was not so great? Your favorites. But the curveball, the curveball was, did you see enough from Hellblade 2 to either garnish you loving it more, disliking it more, and what about no release date? Still no release date, just 2024.
Yeah, all right, man. I played Hellblade through twice. Okay, on the PS4 and then on the Xbox.
Right.
And so I'm a pretty big fan, and I wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed with what I saw. I really wasn't impressed. And part of it is expectation, right? I think that if it was a release that had been done in 2, 3, 4 years, I don't think I'd have an issue, right? But all we've seen is hype. Lots of hype, lots of motion capture, lots of meta-human stuff, right? Lots of face animation. And what I saw looked a lot like Hellblade. And that's both good and bad, right? Because I just feel like, yes, we're going to get a Hellblade 2, but I maybe expected more. And maybe there is more, right? What we saw was highly edited. The combat looked like it might have been improved, but again, hard to tell. Combat was definitely lacking in the first. But as a fan, I feel like I was kind of disappointed. I wanted to be blown away, right?
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel graphically, I think it'll be fine. But I just didn't feel like there was enough there to grab me, right? I don't know what I expected from a sequel, but I know that based on how long we've waited, it should have been more. What more it would have been, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, and that's kind of unfair for me to say, But I feel like we've been pretty patient. We've been waiting a very long time for Hellblade 2. So I guess that was kind of my disappointment. My biggest surprise was Big Balls Sean Murray coming out there and promising the damn world again to everybody, like a crazy man. And but what I saw from that excited me, right? But I also know his track record from the debut, of No Man's Sky wasn't that great. But we have a great game now, right? So I'm kind of keeping my expectations in check. But that's a game that I could sit down like with my wife and really play, get into. It looks like you can craft your own world, right? It had kind of those Ark vibes, Ark survival vibes, but also like city building in there and some MMO likeness to it. I really like that he's at least trying something new. That was my biggest surprise.
Okay.
And then the games, the kind of 2D side-scrolling games that got mentioned, and now I'm forgetting both their names, but the Ori devs, and then the one guy that made a tribute to his father via the game. Both of those look really nice too. But yeah, that was kind of those were my highlights. And the Sean Murray game is light no fire. Yeah, light no fire.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that one was just surprising. I'm surprised he got up on stage again, and I'm surprised that they have actually been working on that while updating No Man's Sky the way they have the last 5 years.
I liked how instead of doing planet to planet to planet to planet and making billions of planet, and I know they even had more than billions. I like how he said it's just one planet, and the planet is just it's infinite. And I'd rather do that because that's something that you can actually wrap your mind around. He said you can climb a mountain and you could be climbing it for days, or something to that extent. And I thought that, and he said when you get to the top of that mountain, when you finally get there, you don't just see a beautiful vista. You can see oceans. I mean, take that as you will. And it really is a build off of No Man's Sky. Let's also call it what it was. But No Rest for the Wicked was outstanding as well. I don't want to take this question away from everybody, but like Gamut, David, or Roy, if you guys have any favorites that you want to kind of point out there, because I do want to kind of get to some of the other big news of the week.
Did any of you catch the one called The First Descendant?
Yes, I did.
It was like a third-person, like sci-fi looking game. I don't know, that game kind of caught my eye. The First Berserker looks like another one of those Chinese devs, like a lot like Black Myth Wukong.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they're starting to come out with some really good content. So I want to keep my eye on that one. And there was a smaller one called Exy Killer. It's like a cyberpunk. It might have been at the beginning with like the smaller games.
Yep. No, those.
I would like to say, so I guess like I definitely agree with everyone about the positive of the games. I wish I would have seen a little bit more from Xbox and Sony. It was a great third-party showing, but it was like, okay, where is... I know it's far out, but where is Wolverine? Where is Stellar Blade? For Xbox, where is State of Decay 3?
Right.
And I would say also, and I was skeptical when they announced that they were going to delay this game. But Kill the Justice League, it's like they were so close to releasing this game, and then they're like, "Oh, you know what? We're gonna delay it." It's like, okay, but how much do you actually expect to change the game being so far in development? And then when I saw the trailer for Kill the Justice League, I was really trying to I played it without any music, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, okay, does this really look any different than what they showed a couple months ago? You looked at like the rate of fire that their machine guns had, and it was identical. It was just reskinned to a different gun. So that was one of my negatives of the show. I don't want to say the show is bad. I love the show, but I just wanted to point out my negatives. Yeah. And I think Kill the Justice League was just like, whatever.
I almost want to like that game, but as I see more and more of it, I like you just said, there's nothing pulling me in. I want to like that game, and actually, if they do another beta or whatever they do, and you have to sign an NDA, and you have to give a blood sample, whatever it is they want now. I guess I would try that out. I would like to at least know what it is that the game is going to be about. And I don't think I can do that without trying it. So I hope they actually have a demo for the game before it comes out, but I highly doubt that they will. I'm going to go over it. I just want to kind of get into some of this because there's a lot left to talk about with the Game Awards and a lot of topics we got to discuss here. First of all, this might be just comic relief because BG, you went off today on Twitter, and I got to ask you in person.
About because I didn't get my thoughts on the game.
Go, Chris.
Nah, real quick. I mean, I pretty much agree with a lot of you. I mean, I think Rise of the Ronin looks great. Neo 4 sounds great to me, especially open world.
Yes.
But one thing that nobody mentioned here, which I'm surprised, is Sega showed out, man.
Oh, you did tweet that? Yeah, you tweeted that out today too, Chris. I mean, so I have a list of the games, unless you already do, Chris. Were you impressed with what you saw? I mean, are they going to be full-blown remakes, Chris?
Well, yeah, they're looking like they're just bringing them back, right? So it was Jet Set Radio, which a lot of people have been asking for, and it's crazy because there's a game just like it that came out recently called Cyberpunk Bomb Rush or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobi, which is going to be back to its old school 2D style, so it's not going to be like the 3D one from the PS2, which is the one that I played. But that one looks very well animated, and the art style looks absolutely amazing. Crazy Taxi is returning. I know a lot of people are excited about that. Golden Axe, that game looks pretty good. You know what I mean? I remember playing Golden Axe on Sega and stuff like that back in the day on the Sega Genesis.
Chris, do you think they're going to release all these games the way that like Rare Replay was, where it'll be like a package deal, or you think they're going to all be individual releases?
No, I think they're all full blown games that they're developing.
Okay.
That whole Sega reel was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool too.
Yeah, no, the Sega reel was. I knew that was rumored to be a presence at the show, Chris. I mean, they also have. So you mentioned Golden Axe, Streets of Rage. You said Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio. How many games in total were there, Chris, that they mentioned? Do you remember?
It was 5.
I think it was 5, but they said there's more that they haven't mentioned as well too. So, because I know going into it, a lot of people thought it was going to be a new Virtua Fighter because they were sending the invitation out to fighting game content creators like Maximilian Dude. Yeah, so that was a big highlight for me. I think the Blade looks pretty cool, and then Monster Hunter Wilds.
What fell flat for you though, Chris?
I'm gonna sound like a hater. Listen, man, I'm in the opinion that Ninja Theory has never made a game with good combat, right? And I know that a lot of people like to bring up DMC, Devil May Cry, but they didn't make that combat in that game. The combat was still designed internally by Capcom. But Hellblade 1 had trash combat, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
What was the one that came out on PS? Heavenly Sword. Oh my god, that was terrible. I think the only decent one was Enslaved to the Wild. So I never really liked Ninja Theory that much. And so when I was looking at Hellblade 2, I was like, I wonder if they're going to drastically improve the combat. And it doesn't look that very much improved. So yeah, that one was kind of underwhelming in terms of a combat perspective. Visually, though, it looks amazing.
Right.
Yeah. And everything else, I mean, I don't know. It's like they're just games most of the games I weren't interested in it, than the ones that stood out. Stood like Rise of the Ronin and everything like that. So,
Chris, if I could do a little devil's advocate for Hellblade 2, I'm right there with you. I don't like Hellblade 2. I don't like Hellblade 1, and it's the reason I didn't play Alan Wake 2. It's just not my style. But if I'm looking at Hellblade objectively, I think that Hellblade 2 showing was great for Xbox and for the game. And if someone out there is saying that it looks like shit because they just don't like that style of game, I think you're doing it a disservice. It's kind of like if I were to play Forza and I'm expecting like a Twisted Metal, it's like you're just kind of being unrealistic. And for anyone out there who's just kind of throwing shade at Hellblade because you don't like that genre, I think you're just doing it a disservice for the game. The game looked really good. Again, it's not my type of game, but I do want to give it its flowers. I was amazed by it.
Yeah, visually the game looks very stunning. I don't know if it was it running on PC or the Xbox Series X?
It's at Xbox at the bottom.
Was it? Okay. visually it looks very stunning and everything like that. I just didn't like the combat in the first game, and I played that on the PlayStation. And when it comes to melee combat, I'm very like I like melee combat a lot. Like I like the Devil May Cries and the Bayonettas, and and things like that. So that was really like the only one. Everything else was just like I didn't even think that show was I mean, we can move on, but I didn't think that last night's show was as good as previous years, in my personal opinion.
I think last year's was better. Yeah.
Do you mean because of the games that were shown, Chris and BG, or are you talking about just the ebb and flow and the the?
I think
for me,
especially the games that were shown.
Yeah, to me it was more the announcement, because there was a segment where it was like the first Descendant, and then there was like 3 or 4 more games like around that, and they all looked the same. Like they all looked like aesthetically the same. Like, and I was like,
Yeah, no, I do know what you mean. There was a point in time with that. The one thing that you said, Chris, that was interesting, and then Roy kind of commented on, I waited in between. I watched I would go like 25, 30 minutes, then I would pick up my phone to see what some of the reactions were. I was just interested to see, and a lot of people were agreeing with what you guys were saying. I thought Hellblade 2 showed pretty well graphically. I thought it looked, and I wasn't shocked because new studio, more people, a lot more money thrown at it. All new mocap equipment. I mean, you would expect that the first game looked good. This could only go up, and they retained their talent there too. I was looking for how they would change and diverse the game from just being a repeat of the same of the first. So I liked the first Hellblade. I didn't love it. I liked it. I'm excited to try this game out and play it. I will definitely play Hellblade 2. But I think that I can't remember who said it on the panel, but I think Xbox is really running with the graphical look of this game more than, because it's going to be, the combat again was very, very choppy, slow, but that's the nature of how they make their games. That's the same way the first one was. So I wasn't expecting, right, Chris? I wasn't expecting Hellblade 2 to really come out and wow us. I had a feeling that it was going to be very similar. And again, it looked better. Probably plays better.
I think this is going to be their best looking game to date on the Series X. Right. In terms of first party, I think this is going to be the one that's visually the most impressive, and it does look visually impressive. But I think Xbox overall had a pretty good night, man. I like that. Blade was a surprise. Some people are hating on it because it's arcane and stuff like that, right? But I don't know. I think that was a surprise to me, and I'm actually very interested in that game.
I would have been.
But they had a good showing. It was nice to see Xbox have a good showing. And for anybody making fun of Arcane and Blade, like they didn't even do enough research to realize it's a different team from a completely different country. So they don't know what they're talking about.
You know, and I can't remember if it was Roy or I can't remember who said it a moment ago. But we have so many games that Xbox is now over the past 2 years. They did a great June show, Xbox Showcase show in 21. Then they did one in 22. And then they had a presence at this Game Awards. It was great to see Blade. And I know they wanted to kind of put that out there because to go head to head with the whole, because all that pressure of not having a Marvel game and Wolverine coming out and Spider-Man 2 doing so well in sales and selling PlayStations and blah, blah, blah. So I know they wanted to put that out there, but there's so many games that they've mentioned. I mean, there's Everwild, there's Perfect Dark, there's State of Decay 3, there's still Avowed. We saw Hellblade 2, which was great, but there's so many games that they've announced. Clockwork Revolution, I don't have even a list, this is all off memory, that they showed us all these games, and then they're like, hey, and we got another game. We have Indiana Jones, Contraband. I mean, it goes on and on. They've shown us a lot of games that are, I know there's some of them said that, Fable, but like, great. But like, so does Blade go at the end of the list of all of these? I mean, is it going to be 3, 4, 5 years out? It was great to see Blade. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get into Blade in a moment.
They say they just started development.
So that's, and
that's far out.
And that's 3 years, 3 to 5 years, depending on, the complexity of the game.
You know what's crazy? When they said it was made by Arcane, the first thing I thought, I was like, damn, it's going to be first person, ain't it? That's literally the first thing that I tweeted right after I seen that. But then once they confirmed it's going to be third person, I was like, okay, now I'm interested to see what this is about.
What has that studio done in third person that people have clamored to? Do they have a big...
Nothing.
Nothing.
And I haven't done anything, Mooch. It's all
Yeah.
been first person, man.
Right, which
Like,
and I only
it's-
say that
yeah.
because I people always go, oh well, a great developer can do anything, and that may be the case, but it is going to be, maybe that's going to be a bit of a hurdle for them. Who knows?
You could be
So
you could be playing Blade at the same time as Elder Scrolls 6.
Wow, Elder Scrolls 6. So Fallout, what was it? Elder Scrolls 6 started when Starfield ended. That could be 28, 29. Fallout 5 is probably going to be sometime around, I don't know, our death.
2032.
Yeah, I don't know. So, you know, I mean,
It's great. It's great to have a really, really long list of things that are coming, but a lot of that list has been coming for a long time. So the excitement is still there for a lot of these games. They've got to be getting close. Like, surely some of them have been in the oven for 4 or 5 years now.
well, you know, and it's interesting that you say that, but a game like Hellblade 2, and we don't have any stats on it at all, but I'm assuming that's not going to be a 45-hour game, right? And that's been in the oven, as we would say now, since it was shown in 2019. It's about to be 2024, and I bet we don't see that game till holiday 24. That may be one of their bigger games, right? So, but getting back to it, you know, Chris brought it up. I was going to go to a different avenue. I'll ask that question afterwards. We brought up Marvel's Blade. We're talking about it right now. Brap made a good point right there in saying they haven't made, you know, a third person kind of game, and maybe they have something somewhere in their portfolio that we're missing, but they're not known for that. So, you know, BG, when it comes down to it, I want to go to Marvel's Blade, definitely being made by Arcane, but again, it wasn't announced as an exclusive, and I know that a lot of people say there's a lot of caveats to that, but there was an interesting person. I didn't grab their names, but, you know, I'll give them full credit. TGA, the Game Awards 2023, this was on X, Twitter. The Game Awards is an extremely high-profile event. If you want to announce something exclusive, that would be the place. No such indication on that reveal trailer. So, BG, knowing that, right? I mean, Microsoft's also listen, we know the Microsoft that's out there right now, the Xbox that's out there, the team right there. They scream from rooftops when they have something. And they got this game. They're definitely proud of it, which they should be. But BG, do you see this being Xbox platform only, or does this start to? We had as Dusk Falls now releasing on PS5, and that was published by Microsoft. Are we going to start seeing some of the Tim Stewart mentions coming back to haunt some of the Xbox fans and saying now Blade may not be Xbox exclusive? They haven't said it, and then they reached out for comment, and they said no comment.
Yeah, I still think it's going to be exclusive. I believe that. I think there may be some type of something holding them back from saying it or announcing it right now. They probably want to, but I think it may have something to do with the fact that they admitted that they just started this game. Like, it's literally just started in development. They probably have barely done anything. Granted, there have been games that have been very early in development and still been announced as exclusives. But I think it probably has something to do with Marvel. Marvel not wanting them to announce that fact yet. It's strange. It is strange, but I do think they will end up announcing it as exclusive. It could maybe have something to do with, you know, the whole FTC case and everything like that, and maybe them not wanting to announce a whole bunch of things as exclusive, like a Marvel property that they have the license to. It could be a bunch of factors why they don't want to announce it yet. But I think it will be exclusive. I think so.
I mean, so it's funny. I mean, that's definitely the safer side of it. But you made a couple points there, BG. So if you look at the FTC, right, and what's going on, if the FTC, you know, that was going to be another topic for later, but if they're appealing right now the ABK deal again, so and that's not going to be a big segment. We're basically going to talk about it for about 4 minutes. But think about it, BG. If the FTC calls, you know, they're going in a case with Microsoft again in the next few weeks, months, whatever it is, and they say, hey, we know, you know, Marvel's Blade, is this exclusive to you? They have to say yes if that's what it is. So I don't think the FTC think. I don't understand. Honestly, if you guys think I'm going by last night, I'm not. BG, I'm not going by last night. Last night, maybe they didn't want to announce it. They didn't put it on the thing. They didn't put it on the trailer. They didn't this net. Fine. I got it. But today, you've had multiple outlets reaching out to Microsoft, Xbox executives, and then Arcane, and getting no comment. I almost think that this may be a situation. Disney, Marvel, they're counting every single dollar they make. You know what I mean? So if they're looking at it and they're like, well, the same way MLB with the show, right? So Sony makes that game, but MLB goes, wait, no, we're going everywhere, dude. I want to make money everywhere now. Marvel
it would be a very strange situation, and not and something that the Xbox fan base would frown upon very hard if the Marvel game that they have, because they've been clamoring for a comic book game a lot. If the comic book game they finally get is not exclusive, when both Nintendo and PlayStation have had exclusive Marvel games, PlayStation and Nintendo, both of them have had them.
Yes. So
that would be very the fan base would be very upset by that, and I would understand why they would be. And this goes back to I still think partially about Xbox wanting to maintain some type of reputation, because their identity is very conflicted, right? They try to be the platform where about play anywhere and giving gamers options and putting games everywhere. That's what they say. But you can't say that but also have exclusives. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not against exclusives. They should have exclusives. But your reputation that you try to portray is a direct conflict with that as a business. Every one of these platforms needs exclusives. So you can't say, oh, we're about giving putting games everywhere, giving players more choices, all that yada yada, but also have all these exclusives. It's a direct conflict with their ideals and what they do. So it doesn't match. So they have an identity crisis with that. They need to stop the good guy stuff.
It's not out of both sides of their mouth.
They're going,
quite a bit.
And I think away. Yeah, nobody cares.
Yeah.
What if they're going third party, right? I mean, what if that's the objective, and 5 years out they weren't?
Yeah, you know what this reminds me of is the whole Tomb Raider thing. Remember where they announced Tomb Raider for the Xbox, and everybody badgered them to ask them if it's exclusive, and they didn't want to say. And when they finally broke down and said it's a timed exclusive, and then everybody got all mad.
What that Nick? What's his name? He's like an Xbox inside. I think his name is Nick Special or something like that.
Yep.
He said that he knows for sure it is an exclusive.
It makes sense. I hope it would be like it's a decent counter to a Marvel comic book property, which they need and their fans have asked for. And I hope they would. They need to. Those are those things they need. They need those big titles that'll sell units and have people come. There's been many times in my life where I've bought in a system just to play one game. I've done it multiple times.
So why not advertise it then? Right?
I know that
is.
And that's the thing with Microsoft. They always there's got to be a reason behind it, but because they tend to fumble a lot of easy layups a lot, or they have a lot of mixed messaging lately, like with the whole Phil Spencer thing and the Bank of America call or whatever the hell that was. Like they say two different things at once, and
I for one am hoping it's exclusive to Xbox, and the main reason is like I see a lot of people in the chat agreeing with this thought too, is that it brings competition. You might go, what do you mean competition? I don't mean it in the sense of like game for game, but like if you're Insomniac right now and you're getting all this praise for Spider-Man and you're being held here, and now you have a very capable studio in Arcane, and we're going to get into the art direction and what your guys' thoughts are on the art direction of Blade, but if I'm Insomniac, now it pushes them because they're going to. These two games will be compared. It'll be a Wolverine versus Blade type of situation. Who's got that better Marvel game on each console? So I'm very interested to see this competition between the two developing teams grow. I think as the years go on. But whoever wants to answer, okay, I'll go to K-Med on this one first. K, what do you think about the art direction when it comes to Blade? That's one of the other hot topics I saw all over Twitter today, X, if you will. You know what I mean? It's not.
Sorry,
it's supposed to be. It is going to be a mature rating. It looks like this.
Yeah,
and that.
yeah.
But when it has that, and I say this, I'm not making fun of it, and I'm not saying. But you know the what is it there? What was that one game that just came out? It's already escaped my mind. That
Redfall. Maybe,
Redfall. It had a Redfall like caricature. You know what I mean? Look.
Yeah.
So is that something that that really hit your fancy, or you thought that it maybe fell a little flat, and maybe that's not the direction?
I'm undecided. Right. I think they could still make it work. I've played the Dishonored games. And they're definitely a little darker, I feel like, than Redfall. But yeah, I think it's going to be tough, right? I think in that sort of I don't even know what you'd call that. It's not really cel shaded, right? But
no,
in that cartoony type visual style, I think it is going to be hard to be gritty and I think a lot of us expect Blade to be dark and grungy and bloody and cutting dudes' arms and heads off.
Yeah, I didn't think it was Blade. I kind of knew it was coming because it wasn't like a leak or anything but it was kind of floating around Twitter. But when that first scene, as it was cutting and going into the barber shop, right, and he was getting the shave, I was like, nothing at that point as we entered into the barbershop, I was like, oh, here's Blade. You know what I mean? I didn't see that coming. That doesn't mean it can't be great. But
and then how's that going to look in third person too, right? I mean, I guess that's my question. How will that transfer to a third person?
In that art style. That's a very like I said, no judging here. I'm just questioning. There is something to that.
No, I want it to be good, and I actually really enjoyed the Dishonored games. So, I wish them luck. I really do. I hope they come out with a banger.
I kind of got Sifu vibes when I saw that art style.
Yeah.
I've been recently playing Sifu. That's the only reason I think that.
It's kind of that same art style.
Yeah, we believe that those type of cinematic trailers are indicative of like the art style of the game. Because I would like to believe they don't always mean that. I would like.
I was thinking that too.
Arcane, it usually is because they showed Deathloop like 2 or 3 years before it came out, and it was the same art style as it was in the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, BG, honestly, and this is me asking a question to you in the panel. Like, Al, you're seeing a bunch of clips from the Xbox Partner Preview that was a couple months ago. Right now, on everything we're seeing that are previews from years back are coming out down the road. Seemingly, it sticks to what we originally saw. Very few divert. Usually, sometimes smaller indies. Very smaller indies will have like a CGI thing, and then when the game comes out, it doesn't look too much like that. But when you have these bigger companies, I think what you saw yesterday, BG, or today, is a taste of what you're getting. BG, do you have any issue with the few questions we have? The art direction, how that will transpire into a third person experience, and can it get dark and gritty with that kind of caricature sketch?
Yeah, my concern, I don't think from a gameplay or mechanical standpoint, I'm not worried about that.
No, yeah.
It's the tone of the game I'm more worried about. I don't think the transition from first person to third person for a talented developer is really that hard. I think switching genres is probably more difficult than switching technically camera angles, so I'm not really worried about that. But when your trailer, and once again, I try not to read too much into these trailers, because it could just be, they could have just treated it as it's just an announcement trailer. But if it does speak to the tone, it starts out with a nice day, bright, sun's out, everything looks nice. I'm like, this is not the tone that I would have guessed a Blade trailer would start out as.
Yeah.
This isn't it. So I just want it to be, dark and gritty. I think from a gameplay standpoint, well, I think Blade, let me say this, I think Blade is a more interesting character than Wolverine. And because people get crazy when you say that. And I'm talking about the lore, the origins of the character, when you're actually fans of these characters and you know things about them. I think Blade is a more interesting character. But who would I trust more with a game with either one of these characters? Of course, it would be Insomniac over Arcane. Not that Arcane is bad; they're great, but this is just more up Insomniac's alley. So I do think Wolverine is going to end up being the better game, but I think Blade is probably to me, Blade is the more interesting character, and I think his gameplay will be more interesting and diverse because, you know, he's both melee with his sword and gadgets and guns. Wolverine, I'm sure, you know, Insomniac is going to be in their bag, but it's mainly going to be melee combat with his claws.
Yeah, no, I like where you.
Hey, Mooch.
Go ahead, Brad, please.
Yeah, I just want to kind of. I know we kind of moved on from the topic about exclusivity, but you know, the one thing that really, for me at least, I didn't really think about it because I was so excited to see Blade, and that Arcane was working on it, and I saw Cobril tweeted this out that, you know, there's no Xbox logo, there's no designation of Microsoft Xbox Game Pass, and there's nothing there.
Right.
And I thought that was kind of like, I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's odd. Like that, you know, because typically like the behavior of Xbox studios, Microsoft, is when they have a first party studio working on a game that you see Xbox X, you know, XS, and then Game Pass PC.
Yep.
That's always been the case. You don't see that right now. You don't see Xbox Wire with the press release didn't say it was coming exclusively to Xbox consoles. Windows Central put out an article where they said it was exclusive. They have since retracted that article and said, no, there's no official, it's not official that this game is exclusive. And even Bethesda's own PR, there's nothing of exclusivity.
Yeah.
So, look, I initially I'm under the impression that this will probably be exclusive. But if it's not exclusive, it wouldn't surprise me, just given how they presented the game versus how they presented other games that their first-party studios are working on. When they presented those other games, they've clearly said these are exclusive to the Xbox console. Now, what's interesting is, and I don't know, again, this hasn't been collaborated, so I don't know, you know, if this individual has inside information, but there's a former developer, Alex Smith, who worked at Ben Studios.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
Yeah, and Ember Lab, you saw that he said that that the requirement for Marvel now is that any games licensed before or
after
2022,
yeah,
have to be multi-platform. So that would kind of make sense, just given Disney and Marvel's approach with their IP now, that they may want it on like everywhere just to maximize, you know, revenue, profitability.
Yep. I saw that.
Obviously they're very protective of their IP now. So that would make sense. So, but even if it is third party, I still think it's a great get for Microsoft.
Oh, absolutely.
From a publishing perspective.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I did see that tweet. Go ahead, David.
So just to carry on from that then, and probably touching on what everybody said about this, Arcane Leon is a first-party studio, so straight away it would be fair to say, well, it should be on Xbox or Microsoft Gaming, whichever you want to call it, because when Insomniac puts something out, or Nintendo puts something out, or, you know, first-party studios held elsewhere, Remedy puts something out, you know, it's not Remedy, can't think of the other name now, sorry, they do games for Nintendo. They, Game Freak, that's who I'm thinking of, sorry. As soon as they announce a game, straight away you know what platform it's going to be on. So, if Arcane's saying, we're doing this, you know, should be able to say with confidence, well, it's definitely going to be on those platforms. But by not having all that annotation and all the rest of it on there, and with the knowledge of what Marvel has decreed, this thing's not going to happen until 2027, 2028. We're in the next console cycle. Next generation's window at that point.
Mm-hmm.
How can you commit to saying that it's going to be on X and S and PC or whatever platform it's going to be on if you don't even know what that platform may be when it gets put out there? Obviously, they're building it in an engine that will perform on whatever platform they need it to perform on. But I think it's a bit premature to say this far out that because it doesn't state something, then instantly it's going to be everywhere. It may just be that instead of an exclusive meaning that it's on one particular console or one particular thing, exclusive may now mean that it's just not going to a competing platform. So there's a few things to permeate out of that.
David, you made a good point. You kind of made me think there for a second. And I was with you the entire way, but where I got to get off the train is I agree with you. It's towards the end of this generation cycle, 27, 28, 29, whatever that's going to be. But what they could have done was anything. This is already gospel coming from Xbox. Anything that's first party goes into Game Pass. You're right. They maybe don't put Xbox Series XS if it's not going to be on an Xbox Series XS because it may bleed into next gen. But you know what's going to be there next gen? Game Pass. They didn't put Game Pass. There was no Xbox logo. There was no nothing. So you're right with the hardware.
Is it going to be? Is it going to be there? Is it going to be called something else? We don't know between now and then what that may turn into.
Well, so I can, as we always say, David. I like your approach. Never speak in absolutes. So you're right, but I gotta say, I would assume with the amount of money, effort, and advertising of pushing Game Pass, I don't see them rebranding Game Pass in the next 5 years. I mean,
exactly. They've almost put all their eggs in one basket, and that basket is Game Pass.
Yeah,
so why
that's the
not
vision of today and tomorrow? For sure.
Yeah.
But hey, I got to bounce, man. I hate to bounce. You guys keep on talking. Thanks for having me, brother. I'm sorry, I had to go handle a situation.
Not a problem, buddy. Appreciate you being here, Gamet.
Yeah, it's been great, man. Thanks, chat. Y'all have a good one. Have a good Friday night. Enjoy your gaming this weekend. Take care.
Thanks, brother. So, David, what do you think about that? What's your? Do you have do you see where I'm coming from with that, or that doesn't hold water?
Yeah. No, I see where you're coming from. I'm just putting forth
I like your thought too. That you're saying hardware, we can't necessarily label something when we don't know what the hardware will be.
Well, the other thing too is we don't know if it's in terms of platforms. What platforms will it or won't it be on? So it may be that is it going to be on whatever the next Xbox console is, if there even is a console? Is it going to be on PC? Which parts of PC? Is it just going to be Game Pass for Windows, or is it going to be sellable Steam and wherever? Is it going to be broadly available on some kind of mobile platform? Is it going to be available here and there? Because we've heard them talk a lot about they want to be on mobile, they want to reach everyone. So and that's why I pose the point of to say something is exclusive to Microsoft would be disingenuous. To say it's exclusive to Xbox, whatever it is disingenuous. If you say it's only on Game Pass, well, that it may become available on Game Pass, but that may not be the only place you can get it. But the concern I would have is if they said it's on Game Pass, straight away there's a negative connotation around budget. And that's where I think will be the biggest impact on this game's development, will be how much money is Marvel going to give them, or has Xbox had to pay for the license and then Xbox has got to fund the whole thing themselves? If it's a Game Pass day one, it's not going to have a big budget.
No, I mean, I see your points. You're making a lot of different caveats there, and all of them could possibly be the truth. I mean, Chris Righteous, you hear what's happening. Chris, what's your take? I wanted to get, I know you touched on it. You kind of brought us into this category, this topic today, right now. Chris, do you think that this is going to be exclusive eventually to Xbox, or do you see some of the big question marks that are looming and whether or not this may end up on various platforms?
Well, I mean, at first I was like, yeah, it's definitely going to be exclusive. But now since like Bethesda is like, they don't want to comment on this exclusive, whether it's exclusive or not. And then hearing what Brad said about, some guy was supposedly Marvel is after 2022, they want all of their IPs to be everywhere instead of being exclusive, which means that Sony and Insomniac lucked out because Wolverine was shown in 2021, I believe. Yeah, I believe so. I mean, it should be right. It should be exclusive. It should be Xbox's answer to Sony having Marvel exclusive. Nintendo had one Marvel exclusive in the past 5 years. I think it was Ultimate Alliance, I believe. I will hope that it is, but it wouldn't be surprising me if it's multiplayer. I mean, we heard from the CFO about them, not viewing Nintendo and PlayStation no longer as direct competitors.
That's right. And
possibly having their experiences on those platforms as well, whatever that means. So it honestly would not surprise me if it's not. The game is still very early in development. It just started development. I think isn't there a Doom timer on Xbox, like 2027 or something like that, right? Isn't there some type of Doom timer?
Death clock.
Yeah, a death clock or something like that. So maybe they're anticipating that. I don't know. For me, my personal opinion, it should be an exclusive.
Why wouldn't they market it though? If it wasn't exclusive, why not say, "Hey, I want to draw consumers to my ecosystem"? Why wouldn't I come out and say it's exclusive? If they're not mentioning that it's exclusive or not, I don't think it's gonna be, because to me, it's a win for your company. It's a win for your brand to say it's exclusive. So I'm going to say it's not exclusive.
That was I suppose the initial part of my comments just before is Arcane Lion is a Xbox studio, and it's one thing to market a game, but if it was a Naughty Dog or Sony Santa Monica or Insomniac or even Guerrilla, if they announce something straight away, everyone knows that it's going to be PlayStation exclusive because it's a PlayStation studio. I actually find it interesting that there's this big fuss about a Xbox first-party studio announcing a game that they're using under license, and suddenly it's a question of, is it exclusive or not? And I think it just gets muddied because of all the stuff that the Xbox CFO and Phil Spencer and that were talking about a couple of weeks ago. I think that's what's led to this conversation, really. If they hadn't had that conversation in public a couple of weeks ago, we wouldn't be having this one now. Everyone would have just gone, oh, yep, it's going to be Xbox exclusive, and there's no question, there's no need to verify.
I know what you mean, David, and you make a good point. And Brap, I'll give you the mic. I just want to say the reason, David, you're hearing a lot of this from the community and on the panel is we've become accustomed to the labeling. I mean, labeling is a big deal. It's become a very big deal. I mean, we look at every label on every box of things we buy. If you don't see a certain warranty, or you don't see a certain guarantee, or you don't see a certain this or that, you put that box down and you look for the other one. The point of the matter is you're right. If Naughty Dog comes out and says The Last of Us 3, but that before that starts and the reel goes, it'll be you'll see a PlayStation Studios logo come up, and then generally you'll see, it may not say exclusively PS5, but it'll say PS5. This didn't say Xbox. This didn't say anything. It was just Arcane Studios. And the label, Xbox always puts their brand, their stamp on everything. So you're not wrong in saying, well, come on, Mooch, we got to put, let's all be, adults here. 2 + 2 is 4, right? But the problem is labeling is a big part of this. And everything last night had a label on it afterwards. Look at even the third party, right? It would say coming to Steam, PS5, PS4, Xbox, Xbox One, Switch. It says it all the time. The fact that you have a first party studio, it's a no-brainer. I mean, even if you're giving, David, I'm sure in your profession, you give plenty of presentations. I'm sure you have a format for your PowerPoint. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you don't have that format, people will be like, why doesn't he have that? He always has his format on top. I know that's, Dave Inc., so it's like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's just something we've become accustomed to. So to not see that is what's called, and then if we go a step further, the no comment. It is odd. I don't disagree. And I actually want it to be exclusive for Xbox. I just don't, I can't swear on a Bible that it's going to be, it's too many oddities right now.
Hey, I got to get out of here. I wanted to leave with just one last thought.
Go ahead, Kay.
On this. I truly believe that Game Pass is Microsoft's platform, right, for the future. Mm-hmm. And I think that is truly, it is the culmination of all the mixed messaging, right? And I think part of that is, the Activision, the ABK acquisition and legal, things that are involved in that, but it's confusing, and I think this conversation by itself proves that point, that people are confused as to what Microsoft, what Xbox will be even 5 years from now. I think in closing, I think they'll be here in some form. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. There's plenty of money to be had in gaming, but yeah, like, does this come out on all the platforms via Game Pass, right? That's a very big possibility. That Game Pass eventually becomes the Netflix of gaming, and people need to, if they want those games, they need to subscribe and stream them on their TV or stream them on their console. So yeah, no, I don't know, man. I was confused. I was super excited. I believe my tweet was some sort of like motherfucking Blade. So I really, really did like seeing that.
Yeah.
But then the confusion kind of set in with the aftermath of it all. Hey, I appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Kay.
On the panel. I got to get out of here and do some Friday night things with the fam. Thanks, Mooch. It was nice being on, guys.
Appreciate that, K-Med. Everybody, I told you we were going to have K-Med for 72 minutes. I stole him for a little bit longer. So the great K-Med.
Yeah, you did, man. You got me for a little longer. Maybe we'll do this again. You drive a hard bargain, man.
I do what I can, but I'm a mooch. I got to do something like that. You know what I mean? That's how we get here. Kay, thank you, buddy.
I hear you, brother. Hey, have a good night, everybody.
Appreciate it, Kay. So, yeah, when it comes down to it, I really think that may be the case. I think we kind of got the ins and outs there. Brap, I did take the microphone away from you. What were you going to say?
Oh, I forgot.
My apologies, then. So I apologize for that.
No, I mean, it just, again, I mean, I think that even if it is third party, it's still a big get for Microsoft. Again, I think it's reasonable. I think it's just a reasonable question just based on the behavior of the announcements of first party games for Microsoft, that they at least slap Xbox Game Pass PC on there. That just wasn't the case, and that's why we're asking this question. There's anything wrong with that?
No, I think it's a valid question. I think it's a great debate, to be honest with you, because again, as I was telling David, we've been accustomed to this now, right? We've been grown to look at this. This is especially as people on YouTube. I mean, we've got to read the fine print. I mean, BG, you know this. We all have a magnifying glass now. We have to look at every single thing, because if you don't, the people call you out. So, switching subject slightly, BG, I got to go to you for a little comic relief here. You went off. I thought it was hysterical, but let me give the introduction. So, Hideo Kojima came out from Kojima Productions, and he made a big splash with his announcement of OD, an Xbox Cloud game exclusive. Again, exclusive was mentioned there as well, I believe. And the funny part about it was at the end, with one of the last translation pieces between Jeff Keighley's question and Hideo Kojima, he was like, "It's a game." And here's where it leads to the question, BG. It's a game, but it's a movie, but it's still a game. So it's kind of like it's different, but the same, but still different. So, BG, what do you think when it comes down to this? What do you think of the OD cloud exclusive game that Kojima is working for with Microsoft Studios?
I mean, listen, I honestly, like, I make a lot of jokes, but it's really the truth in the jokes that I say. I really think Kojima like holds the industry hostage.
Yes.
Like, and just does. I feel like he's kind of bored with gaming, so he tries to think of the most out of the box things to do and still qualify it as a game. And I think it gets to a point of being completely ridiculous, and people just continue to stroke his ego. It's literally, an artist and it's upward for interpretation. They design something, and no matter what it is, people just praise him for it. Oh my God, it's amazing. He's a genius. And they have no idea what it is. Their 5-year-old could have drew it, on the bus, but because it comes from a certain artist, they're like, oh, it's a work of art. And bro, you look at the trailer for this thing, you have no idea what it is.
BG, I completely agree exactly with everything you're saying.
We have no idea what this thing is based on the trailer. And it was the same thing with Death Stranding. The first trailer of Death Stranding, people had no idea what it is, but people were like, "Oh, I'm so hype! I'm so excited! He's a genius! He's amazing!" Like, bro, what is this? If anybody else released that trailer, they would be like, "Bro, what is this?"
Yep.
What is this? But
yeah, I mean, there's that BG, but the thing is like, when you have a developer with that pedigree, it's like, yeah, like he does get a pass on certain things other developers will not get a pass on, right? But that's because of his history and his legacy. You know what I mean? As far as his new one, I'm sorry, I'm not giving him a pass for that shit. Cause that shit is just like it's a movie game. It's gonna be cloud and shit like that. Yeah. As far as Death Stranding, I really enjoyed Death Stranding. I know you didn't like that game, BG. I know you thought it was boring or whatever, but I thought it was an interesting, unique game. But yeah, you are right that he does get a pass, but there's a reason for that, right? Just like if Naughty Dog Naughty Dog showed a new IP that we don't know nothing about, right? A lot of people are going to be hyped. Why? Because it's Naughty Dog, because of their history and their legacy,
Yeah,
I think that asshole speaks English too. I ain't buying it.
no,
I just want to throw it out there. That dude speaks English.
I think he's
The
being
difference is-
safe. He doesn't want to.
when Naughty Dog, even if Naughty Dog puts out a trailer, we know what we're getting. We know exactly what we're getting. We know it's going to be a game at bare minimum. We're not guaranteed a game when it comes to Kojima. And I'm be real with you, Kojima's not the most accomplished developer. Like, okay, let's look at what he's really made. It's mainly Metal Gear. He made what, Zone of the Enders also? I think he's behind Zone of the Enders.
Yeah, Zone of the
and another IP. It's like 3 IPs. He's not the most accomplished person out there, but he gets away with the most. Like, you listen, Miyamoto is way more accomplished than Kojima. He's done way more than Kojima has done. Way more.
Okay, so what? Okay, BG. Then what about somebody like Cory Barlog or Neil Druckmann, right? Like Cory Barlog only did the God of War, right? But he's making a new IP, and I'm pretty sure people are going to be excited for that. Or Neil Druckmann, he's only done like some of the Uncharted games and The Last of Us. Right. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing. Nobody is going to treat Neil Druckmann or Cory Barlog like they do Kojima.
Right.
Nobody's treating them. They all like them in the games they make, but nobody's treating him like, bro. Okay, a perfect example. I forgot what award show it was. Kojima came out, or there was a video of him at a gaming award show or a gaming show, and it was just to promote his podcast.
Oh, that was bullshit. Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh yeah.
What other developer out there are they going to get up on a stage and say, "I got a podcast coming out, peace"? Who's doing that?
Isn't that Summer Games Fest? Is that last year's Summer Games Fest?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like
get away with that.
It's ridiculous. No, like I said, they're not even letting Miyamoto do that. Probably. And didn't y'all say that they gave Kojima way more time to show his game than anybody else or something? Like it's crazy the things he gets away with, bro.
Something that I would like to add to this particular subject, and caveat, I'm a massive Metal Gear Solid fan.
Me too.
I have noted, or do note, that since when Kojima is allowed to just do whatever he wants, it turns into a shit pile, and then they try and salvage something out of it. When he's got someone looking over his shoulder occasionally and saying, "That's rubbish, we're not doing that," or "We need to change this," or "We need to do something different." When he's got someone sort of keeping an eye on him, you get some really good stuff out of him.
Yeah.
But when he's left to his own devices, which is what Xbox are letting him do,
and
you're going to get some weird and wacky stuff. And it's going to take some time. And look, this was always an experimental thing for him, but if you're going to turn him loose with an unlimited budget, you're not going to get something that makes any sense for a long time.
Yeah, and what I think is the weirdest thing about it is it's not like his games are the best sellers. Right. There are plenty of directors who make games that sell way more than anything Kojima makes. So it's not even like he's necessarily this super cash cow. If he was that, I would kind of understand like some of the things they do for him, like PlayStation. They literally rolled out the engine red carpet for him. And it was like, hey, these are all our engines. You could pick from anything you want.
Yep. PlayStation's current blueprint is based off what Kojima did with Metal Gear Solid. Look at the first 2 Metal Gear Solid games and look at what PlayStation are doing now. And tell me you don't see almost identical similarities there.
He invented a whole new genre, essentially, and a whole style of game that essentially became the PlayStation template, right?
Yeah, but put that aside, because of that history, as with any sports star, superstar, movie star who does something that is ground-shatteringly advancing, they will just get free passes for the rest of their time. And they don't have to even be repetitively good at what they've done. They do it once, off they go. So,
no, BG, you're right. Kojima does get passes that no other developers will get. But I think that's just because the people really like him, man. People respect him. I mean, all of his past games are video games. I know some people is like, well, we don't know if we're gonna get a video game or not. But it's like, No, Death Stranding was a video game as video game. Whether you like it or not, or think it's boring or whatnot.
Sure.
And David is right as well. When he's unhinged, that's when like people, that's when he does like his craziest shit. But I think with Death Stranding, in terms of its reception, and it's not like it wasn't like it was received horribly, right? But it's out of the 82 compared to most of his games prior to that getting above a 90.
Right.
But I think Death Stranding
And it
may
didn't sound
have
crazy either. Yeah.
yeah, and it didn't sell crazy. I mean, it made its profit. It's so 5 minutes.
So
But I think
okay.
Death Stranding may have humbled him a little bit. So when Death Stranding 2 comes out, I think Death Stranding 2 is going to be a very different game than the first one. And I think he will adjust the criticism, because he did adjust the criticism in the director's cut. He added more action sequences,
Yes.
more tools and stuff like that to get around.
Yep, I agree. I do agree with that, Chris. I think we'll see enough of a difference. Go ahead, BG.
And the last thing I'll say is like on Kojima is like, because everybody hated Konami, when that situation was happened, but everybody's so convinced that Konami was in the wrong. I'm not convinced of that. I think Kojima could have been an asshole in that situation and just felt like he can do whatever he want. And Konami was like, bro, we love you, but you can't do whatever you want.
Right.
And that was the situation. Everybody swears Konami's the bad guy. I think it may have been the other way around, but
Yeah.
I think he has a lot of people fooled.
No, and so those, BG, everyone, you made a great statement at the beginning of this topic. The one thing that you did say that I haven't heard anyone else say that I thought you made a great point as well, and I'll even make a reference here. You said, he's bored, and there is something to that when you look at the different styles of games that he's coming up with. And I'll give you guys a rough example. You guys love the analogies. It's been a minute, but like, do you guys remember the early days of Iron Chef? I don't know if you guys watched that show back in the day. But that was a great show, and back then, Bobby Flay, was like the chef to beat, and I used to watch that and be like, this dude is crazy. This guy's making 5 courses. He's got 1 hour. Yes, he's got a team with him, but he's in charge. He takes all the hits. He's cooking. He's sweating like unbelievable. I'm like, the guy's making 5 dishes in legitimately an hour. But then, Bobby Flay got big, and he opened up multiple restaurants, and then he's got 14 different shows on Food Channel or Food Network and this and that. And now I watch him, he can barely make a bolognese sauce, so because he's so big and he's so respected in the food industry right now, you know what I mean? It's hard to see him make a mortadella sandwich.
After a while, creators will start to lose their touch. Like, Jay-Z's earlier albums in the 2000s and in the 90s are way better than his later albums, right? So after a while, like, the creators will start to lose their touch. But one thing I do respect about Kojima, for better or for worse, like I said, sometimes it's for worse, right? He at least tried to do something different and unique every time. Now, whether that works out for him or not, whether people like it or not, that's it is what it is. But he at least, like with Death Stranding, he at least attempted something different, right? Whether you liked it or not. For Christ's sakes, the guy started a whole new template for first-person horror games with just a demo. You know what I mean? With PT. Like, that PT was the beginning of all these first-person horror games. They even inspired the new Resident Evil games and stuff like that. So it's like, sometimes he does, when he hits, it really is genre-defining, and it's like, oh shit, like, this shit is crazy. And then the other times it's like, all right, what are you doing, Kojima, man? Get. You need a, what you call it, BG, a handler? You need a handler sometimes.
Yeah, handler. Yeah.
I just think
for every 10 ideas he has, 9 of them will be crazy, and the one that sticks will be the genre defining or the moment defining change. And we just got to go with it.
I don't know if you guys I follow him on X, and but again, I didn't really. I wanted to finish my statement because some people in the chat may not have got my correlation what I was trying to say. I respect Kojima, and I think that when BG said he may be bored, that's interesting because he's been making games for a very long time. If you follow him on Twitter X, he legitimately is very much into movies and art.
Yep.
And so he is, when BG said bored, and BG, I'm not putting words in your mouth. If I'm interpreting you wrong, you tell me. But he's probably bored of I'm going to go out there and make, press LT to aim down sight, shoot, magic comes out of your pocket. He's done that stuff for.
I think he wants to be a movie director.
He wants to be a
like
movie director.
Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Didn't Death Stranding have like almost every one of those characters are real life actors?
Yes, they all are.
He wants to be a movie director, and then he's working with Jordan Peele now for this. The man wants to be a movie director.
Right. That's the whole thing. And he worked with. And now, of course, I'm going to forget the gentleman was actually in the game.
The first 4 hours of Death Stranding was like 85% cutscenes.
Right. You know, and it's like him and Norman Reedus are like buddies, and Norman Reedus he's doing, of course, Walking Dead, and then he does movies. So, like, my whole thing is I think that when I say bored, I interpreted BG as saying that's not necessarily, that was not a negative. That was saying he's moving on. He's taking his talent and he's expanding it in the way that he wants to. And listen, when you're a veteran, even if you're in any company, you're a veteran, sometimes you get that good grace to be able to say, hey, I'm really good at this. Now I'm going to go work on this particular project because that's what I want to do. And believe me, as you can see, Xbox, PlayStation, everybody's still clamoring to get them because the name sells. I mean, even his logo, like that logo.
It's a cult following.
Yeah, it's a logo. But the logo's sick. Like that's a cool, like, you know what I mean? Like everything about him is, he's just kind of like that classy guy in the business, and everybody wants to hang out and drink with him. You know what I mean? So I think, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, the thing with Kojima too, like he's one of those people. He's like this enigma in a way. He's just one of those people that just no one does what he does.
Right.
Gaming. You
It's
know,
unique.
and that's the thing. Like I you know, I remember playing the first Metal Gear on the NES, and so I'm older than probably most people on the panel here. And you know, I remember Metal Gear, and I remember Metal Gear Solid. And when that game came out, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, and then the Metal Gear series and how creative they were. And no one does what he does. There's a lot of copycatting in the industry. Nobody copycats Kojima.
It's a good point.
And I you know, again, I don't know what he's working on now. You know, I'm like, okay, what is this game? I thought it was cool that Jordan Peele came out, but you know, I do think he does want to get into movies. I mean, he's done work with Guillermo del Toro.
That was the name I couldn't remember. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you know, like I think to BG's point, like we didn't know what Death Stranding was, but when Death Stranding came out, I mean, that's some of the best narrative writing, voice acting in a game that I've played in quite some time. And even just being around the BTs, or the BTs, or
BTs,
whatever they're called. Yeah, and just, you know, the how tense the atmosphere would get. You get that kind of like psychological thriller aspect to that game. I mean, like no one else has done that. Like there's no other Kojima. He just does stuff that no other developer does, and I think that's why maybe he gets a pass because it's Kojima. And you know, I see people saying he's overrated. Look, I think if you don't agree with the work that he's done, that's fair. If that doesn't appeal to you, if that's not your bag, that's I understand that. But
I don't think
he does things that no one else does in the gaming industry.
And you know what's funny, Brad? Since you bring that up, that nobody really copies him. I remember when Death Stranding came out and it was nominated for Game of the Year. I remember people like BG and Shokio were going crazy because they thought that the whole industry was going to copy Death Stranding type of games or whatever. And I knew that wasn't going to happen because this is one of our own kind thing. You can't really copy that. You remember that, BG? You're like, oh, now everybody's going to copy off of Kojima if it wins Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they didn't. That game's boring.
Yeah.
Enough
of Kojima.
Throwing it out there.
Well, sorry. So let's switch the subject slightly. I want to go start with David. David, you were pretty loud about this, and Brap was too. The whole Bungie situation. Bungie's kind of fallen on some hard times, and everybody was making it sound like it was Sony's fault for the layoffs, and it was Sony's fault for this. It was Sony's fault for that. Yet everybody, the same people who were saying it was Sony's fault, wrote the articles when the merger was taking place that Sony has no control over them. They're independent. They stand alone. They make their own decisions. And now we're finding out that, David, if they fall below a certain threshold of, I'll just say, stock value, I think I'm wrong. You can correct me, David. But if they fall short of that value, it is in the contract that Sony can take over. And I'm going to say this much. If they have been in a steady decline, and there has been reports that said if Sony didn't come and even do what they did initially, they would have went belly up. My question for you, David, is I don't think it's that bad if Sony does do a takeover and start to monitor these guys, because it sounds like, and by the way, the devs at Bungie, I don't think they're not going anywhere. They're going to be right there. It's the board of directors at Bungie that may be in trouble. So I don't really have a problem with that. Do you see an issue, David, with two things? First, what's the valuation of Bungie right now? And two, do you think it's bad or good if Sony steps in?
Well, the first thing around the valuation is because they're a wholly owned subsidiary. Yes, they've got that independence and their own direction thing that they're allowed to do because they're not part of PlayStation Studios. They're sitting on their own. The valuation or the markers is more around the financial performance than an actual value of the organisation. Because Bungie will effectively only be worth what the value of its assets is. And at the moment, that's probably somewhere just over $1 billion at best. Where they're going to come into trouble is the cash flow. And this is the piece, one of the pieces a lot of people are missing. So there's a board of, well, call it a board of directors, but it's more of a board of governance and oversight. It's got 5 key or 6 key people on it, plus a few ring-ins from external because governance requirements of that. And the board's main job is to set the strategy and the direction and make sure that the reports are being done properly to external and that all the governance is fine and all this other boring as crap stuff that most people don't give 2 fucks about is occurring. It's the senior management within Bungie that need to deliver on that plan that they've got and been signed off by the board, which the management themselves have designed, by the way, in terms of what they're developing, what their cash flow requirements are, how much money they're going to make, and all those projections and bits and pieces. They stuffed up with their projection for The Last Wish because they based it on, was it Witchfall or whatever it was, the previous DLC piece, pack, because they, just took what happened last time and assumed it was going to happen again. Well, the story wasn't that flash, and they had a lot less people wanting to buy it because they're out of the lockdown situations. Mm-hmm. So they missed it by a big chunk, and that the plan requires that much money more now to be tipped in by Sony or PlayStation that they weren't planning on having to tip in. Missing by 45% is a big miss. If you miss by 20%, that's when you start seeing red on paper and it starts to cause concern. If you miss by 45%, that's a lot of money that's got to be kicked in. That's got to come from somewhere else. And you look at the problems that they're having with most of their US studios, with Sony being games delayed and things taking longer and all that. There's not a lot of money coming in at the moment for them. So It's getting a little bit tight in areas. So if you haven't got the cash flow coming in to offset those misses, you've got to offload some cost.
Right.
They've grown Bungie by over 50% since it came on board with PlayStation, with Sony. So they are offloading people that are surplus to requirements to reset their position. Well, that's unfortunate, but that's just another part of the deal. That happens day in, day out across the industry, across multiple industries. A lot
of people need to hear that you say that, because a lot of people think, that only happens in the games industry, and that's happening throughout business, period.
Yeah, it happens everywhere. Look, people look at the games industry and they seem to think it's like you get a job in the games industry and you're set for life, like you're an accountant or you're working in administration or something, and you only move when you want to move. Building games is a project. Every single game development is its own project, and projects have got different stages, different phases, different requirements, and you don't need the same people from start to finish all the time. You don't need QA testers when you're writing the storyboards. You need QA testers when you've got stuff to test. So they bring them in, they do the jobs as they're required, and then they jump out and go to the next role. The ones that do most of the whinging aren't the devs themselves, because they just go to the next job. There's plenty of jobs of going out and about in IT. You don't necessarily need to be in gaming to be able to apply your skills. There's heaps of jobs going out there at the moment. But the media focuses in on these 100 people that got laid off. Yeah, there's still 900 people there working on something.
Right.
And a majority of those that got laid off were in There were a couple of QAs that weren't required. There was some people in media. There was some people in communications. Like, if you haven't got something coming, like, it's been delayed till June 2024 now, the next Destiny
next expansion,
thing.
Yes.
And I doubt we're going to get Marathon next year. That's probably 2025.
Right.
So if you've got nothing to talk about, what do you need content managers and community managers and all that sort of stuff for, that when they don't really have much to do? If you got a cost blowout problem, you got to solve that. But that sort of stuff is not what the board gets involved in. That's the senior management and middle line management themselves working out what they need and what they don't need to match back against either a budget or a number or a promise that they've made. The board just makes sure that they're following the plan. So if the management themselves of Bungie, which hasn't changed significantly in the last couple of years, have now deviated from a plan that was agreed to, they either need to get back on that plan or they'll find themselves getting thrown out. And it's as simple as that. The only people that are going to throw them out are the ones that are on the board. And this whole idea of Sony will just take it over, well, there's 2 Sony people and 3 Bungie people on the board of oversight. And the person that has the casting vote is the boss of Bungie. So I don't understand how a takeover from a 3 versus 2 is going to happen from a board level. It's basic maths, like that's a no-brainer. So that's not going to happen. If Sony step in and take over, it'll be by replacing management in Bungie, and that's where you'll get the change up. But at the moment, they're not talking about that. At the moment, they're just looking at it going, well, you've missed, you need to reset and go again. And that's just another Thursday in business.
Yeah.
The articles that have been written where they say, oh, X dev this and X QA tester that, they will have no clue, not a single clue, what the board's jobs are, what they're there to do, or what's even being discussed. So the fact that there's these anonymous sources that are saying, oh, this is what's happened, and we're taking it as gospel in some of the articles that have been written is pure nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm glad you chimed in on that. I saw that you did a lengthy thread on Twitter. Shout out to the great Slow-Mo Backslap. I apologize. I did miss the super chat. He says, never go full Kojima. Shout out to Slow-Mo Backslap. Great to have him here in the chat. And I appreciate the super chat. Yeah, David, you really went off on that brap. And I know you saw a bunch of this too. And like David said, this is actually just happening throughout multiple industries and multiple businesses. And there's a gentleman in the chat, Tripod Johnson, he was talking, and he says to me, Mooch, what's your counter to this? Brap, the one thing I was saying to Tripod, and I'll say to you, is that, at the end of the day, you've got a situation where Bungie wasn't doing well independently. So now Sony comes in, I think they would have went belly up regardless. This is a very similar story to what, and again, I'm paraphrasing, so please no quotes, but like the great Jeff Grubb said, a lot of the smaller industries that were in ZeniMax may have not made it if it wasn't for that acquisition. Right. So this is a situation here where Bungie said, hey, can we have one more shot at being independent? We can do this. And Sony was like, absolutely, that's fine. But if everything that David just says starts to fall under this line, I'm sorry, we will come in and we will then run it the way that we want to run it. And honestly, I don't even think the people at Bungie would mind the way. So you don't see people doing mass exoduses from any of the other Sony studios. So, Brap, what do you think when you heard this? Is Bungie probably going into a better situation if Sony takes over? And what do you think of the state of Bungie and Destiny and all of that? All the IP that are slated. They still have a new IP on top of Marathon that they're working on.
Yeah, it's kind of obviously it's a fluid situation. I mean, these things can change, but I think, I don't want to speculate on whether or not Bungie would be in a better place. Maybe not. But at least the one thing I'll say is if people calling this a hostile takeover, that's an exaggeration. Sony paid a lot of $9 billion or $7 or $9 billion for Bungie. They're obviously protecting their investment. And look,
they paid 3.6 billion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking about you just
That
mentioned
was
Bethesda.
ZeniMax was close to 8. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
so they paid
yeah.
like 3 point something billion for
3.6,
Bungie.
3.4. I don't know what it is, something like that.
Yeah, and that was a cash transaction. That's a lot of money for Sony. And look, they got to protect their investment. And look, when you miss your revenue targets by 50%, people are going to be uncomfortable conversations. Like I've been in meetings with I've been in meetings where revenue targets weren't made, and there are uncomfortable conversations. Like it's like sometimes there's a lot of F-bombs and a lot of what are you doing? And sometimes like we saw at Bungie, there are some hard decisions to be made. Well, we need to make some tough decisions because we missed our revenue targets, we need to let people go. So, and I said this because a certain Xbox influencer made a comment about Bungie going back to Microsoft for their creativity. I'm like, well, no, this isn't about it. This isn't an issue of creativity. It's
right.
It's an issue of an underperforming business unit that Sony owns. That Sony may need to step in because the current leadership is having some challenges meeting those financial goals, and these are publicly traded companies. And like I've been saying for a long time, and Falky, we've had you on the show. C-suite executives have a legal responsibility to do what? Make their shareholders
make money.
Yes, make money. So, look, I mean, these conversations are going to happen when you miss your revenue goals by 50%. So Sony may need to step in and say, wait a minute, like whatever you guys are doing here isn't working. We may need to step in and have a little more of a hands-on per se, because we need to protect our investment too. Because our shareholders are going to be asking us, hey guys, wait a minute. You guys just spent $3.2 billion of cash, our cash, and they missed their revenue goals by 50%. Like, what are you doing to remedy that problem?
Right.
And Falky, I'm sure you probably have maybe privy to those conversations too, but nobody should be surprised by the idea of Sony maybe taking over just given Bungie's performance. And again, not a hostile takeover, because this is commonplace in other industries where we've seen this happen before.
No one who's worth a damn in a leadership position is going to sit back and let those under them fail. So if they see that, if it's a point to where that Sony's like, you know what, we got to finally step in because you're not doing your job, or you're not doing what we want, or getting us money, at the end of the day, we're going to step in. So
yeah,
I think if you're in a leadership position, management position, whatever, once you see that the people under you are failing, and I'm kind of in a small leadership position myself. I don't like to micromanage. However, if my team is not doing what they need to do, it's time for me to step in, because at the end of the day, if a team fails, they don't look at the team, they look at the leader.
They look at you. And same thing with the shareholders, right, Falky? I mean, like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like, if the C-level doesn't really execute and protect the investment of the business, I mean, there are going to be some uncomfortable conversations.
Well, it just it seems that it seems, and I'll give the mic to Falky in a second. I just think that the management, when you hear some of these tweets that are coming out right now from some of maybe the people that were let go from Bungie, or some of the people that are still there but being anonymous, they seem to sound like the board of directors, the top level management, has kind of lost their way with Destiny and the direction, and they want to make the game, they want to make things better. And they're like, no, we just need to get our audience. Once the audience comes around again, they'll understand, blah, blah, blah. We got to make it up to our audience. Sometimes it is about making it up to your audience, but sometimes you have to make a radical change. And it doesn't sound like the leadership is willing to make that. Like Falky just said a minute ago, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to change that 50%? Or maybe it was you, Brad. You're 50%. You've come in under 50% on what you were supposed to do on your valuation. What are we doing here? Oh, well, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to try and make it a little better for our fans by giving this or doing that. That's not enough. That's not going to
look at the Patriots. I mean, Bill Belichick, he's a Hall of Fame coach, but when he starts losing, Robert Kraft, he's like, "Hey, Bill, what's going on?"
Right.
So
you got to step in on that. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It's business.
It's like the Mets.
Well, absolutely, but that's
Well, don't they got to be good in the first place, though, Brett?
Oh, geez, a lot of Mets
Mooch.
slander going on here. That's really uncalled for.
It's like the Giants.
Well, hey, listen, Tommy.
Well, I can't say that you guys beat us with a undrafted quarterback. So
Tommy Cutlets, guys, Monday Night Football. Make sure you tune in, even if you're not. Just be hungry. BG, what do you think? What we're saying? They call him Tommy Cutlets. Sports. BG, what do you think? Oh, he's sports. BG, what do you think, though, at the end of the day? Do you think it matters if Sony takes over here, BG? Or there's just so much talent at Bungie, and I think what they're working on can be fixed or eradicated. Something if Sony maybe steps in. I mean, they've got the leadership. They've been making games for a long time there. What's your take on this news that broke?
I mean, I wouldn't be mad if they did. I mean, when we acquired you, they paid extra to give all of them bonuses.
That's
just
right.
to make sure they retained all the talent. I mean, we gave y'all bonuses up front, right? And and they said, okay, well, we're going to let y'all stay independent. You're not under PlayStation, you're under Sony. Mm-hmm. You got everything you wanted.
Yep.
So there's like not any excuses for you to, be missing, targets by 50%. So I don't think anybody could be mad at them if they decided to do that. And also, if a Sony's not the worst publisher to be in control of you.
Exactly.
Like it's not. Oh, it's not the most horrible situation to be in, right? When you look at all their other first party studios,
I don't know.
It's not a terrible situation.
You got no first party exclusives 2024. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. But as far as we know the freedom that PlayStation typically gives them and the the guidance and all that stuff when you compare them amongst all the other publishers, not the worst situation to be in. So
you know what happens when leadership doesn't step in? Halo Infinite releases. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Is
Redfall.
Yeah, Redfall happens. Redfall happens. It's just like when leadership doesn't step up to the bat, products come out shitty.
There's a couple of final comments I just want to put on this one if I can. The purchase of Bungie had those, as was mentioned just before, those bonuses in it, but they were paid to the employees at the time. So the employees that were on deck when it was acquired got paid, not just the bosses. Everyone that was an employee that met the qualifying point got those payments, and those payments were out over 2 or 3 years. Can't remember how long it was now. I think it was like 2.5 years or something. So this financial year, those payments have actually washed through. So PlayStation, or Sony in its gaming and network services segment, took a pretty decent bath over a period of time, because if they'd have just paid it all up front, it was all capital. So part of the lower operating profit, net profit that Sony's running with out of their gaming and network services is the commitment to pay these people. So they are committed to holding on to Bungie. The qualifying point, though, if you get a safety net like Sony for Bungie to have, is that you've got to perform. You have to perform. And if you can't perform, and they will come in and straighten the ship. The issue that Bungie's got is around their narrative and storytelling from their last DLC. That was the biggest point of feedback. Now, so which gaming publisher would you want to have help you fix a story issue? If you had to go and find one, surely PlayStation's up there near the top of the tree of those that can fix a narrative-driven issue. They've got that many story writers that are available. So if it's not all doom and gloom, if the safety net gets triggered, so to speak, put it that terms, PlayStation come in and have to take over. There's an assimilation or a synergy there that's not difficult to do. You've got Herman Holst and Eric Lampella, the two Sony people sitting on that board of oversight. Eric's not a mug. He knows how to get value out of games and what works and what doesn't. Eric is an extremely underrated and very talented individual, and responsible for a lot of the good stuff that we've been getting for the last decade. So they're not in bad hands. If it does happen that they have to replace some management or put some more management in there, because Bungie, they've never been this big, so they don't know how to operate being in this size. And I can appreciate when the devs say senior management feels more detached from what's going on.
Yeah.
You got that many people to manage, you get another level of senior management and middle line management that pop in. The guys that were, when you're 300 or 400 big, walking around talking to you every day as the CEO or the managing director, when you're 800,000-900,000 people big, you don't see them. They're two levels detached above you, worrying about a completely different set of problems that you'll have no clue about. And again, Bungie's gone from doing their own thing, being part of a major global group with a very different set of rules and regulations as to what they would have been used to for those that were there when they were part of Microsoft. Sony is not an American company. Although they have an American division, they'll be doing things that are completely different in a completely different manner. And the expectations of performance are immensely higher.
Yeah.
There is more scrutiny. There is more requirement to perform. There's an element of discipline that Bungie is now being exposed to that they've never had to be exposed to before. Because they're not just competing with, we made this many sales, so we've only got this much money to do the next thing with. They're now competing for funding against Naughty Dog, Insomniac, Guerrilla, Firesprite, Haven, Sony Santa Monica. They're not playing around with their own little piggy bank. They're competing for funding from some very big players in gaming within that organisation. So they've got to hit the targets. And if they pull that safety lever and Bungie still can't perform, I'd hate to say it, they'll get a fair chance, but Sony is not above turning the off switch on studios if they can't perform.
Absolutely.
And that's the risk that they're not even close to that at the moment. They'll get a long lead time to make sure they do well, but if their current management isn't going to respond to the challenge that's been put for them, then the Sony will have no option. They'll just kick them out and put new management in.
What do you think is the time frame? I want to ask one more hot topic before we bounce out of here. But what do you think is the time frame? How much longer will Sony wait till they execute that, David?
If they fuck up the next one, then I suspect you'll see pretty quickly within a month or two after launch that there'll be some high-profile exits out of Bungie.
What do you mean the next one? The next quarter report, or do you mean the next game?
No, so in June 2024, when the Last Wish, what's it called? The Last Wish?
Last Stand?
The quote
or something?
I
don't know. Last Dance or something.
Last Dance?
Yeah, the closeout for Destiny 2. If that fails to hit their expectation, and when I say fails to hit, I mean I'm talking if it's more than 10%. Like they're not going to get a very big window. They will have already revised it. But if it fails to hit that target by a certain amount, there'll be executives walked out of the building within weeks.
Okay. No, so it sounds like it could be the final shape. Thank you, Silent Merc. Thank you.
Falky, that would be a result of just the missing the 50% revenue goal and whatever. I mean, I don't know what the revenue goals are for this new game or for the DLC that's coming up, but assuming they missed that as well.
Yeah, they'll have had two major misses, and they will have reset this new goal. Like they've delayed the game to get it right, to fix the issues that they've identified and make it better. They've got some top quality actors coming in that have worked on other PlayStation games, and I'm under the belief from people that have, close to this issue that have spoken to me, that they've actually brought in talent from other studios to help with the writing and help with the narrative and help with some of that back-end stuff. So they should get it sorted out. They don't have to change too much in the game mechanics and the gameplay itself. There's a few guns coming back and a few other skins that they're working on, but it's in the story writing that they've got to fix it. They've given themselves some more time. They've been given more money to make it work. They're getting the Returnal treatment. Cook it till it's ready, but it's got to be ready by that date. Where's the money coming
from, Falky? I'm sorry to interrupt. Where's the money coming from? You said they're giving more money.
Sony's bank account. They're funding this stuff.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So that is okay. Yeah, go ahead, man. That's telling, by the way. Yeah,
they're pulling it. Sony's pulling out of their back pocket to give the money to get this thing done because it's unfunded from revenue stream, effectively. So they've got this situation. They need to hit these markers. The markers that they need to hit have been reset as what makes sense from all the information that they keep getting. to have every opportunity for them to meet them and or exceed them. If they fail to do that, or if they miss that thing in June I think it's in June. If they miss it in June by more than 10%, I just about put Lefty on it that by August, 2 of those 3 senior managers won't be there anymore.
Yeah. No, that time frame does hold water. That would make sense. So I do see that. And David, thank you for the breakdown. I do appreciate it. That's why I really wanted to have you on the show to discuss this. That's important for a lot of people to understand and kind of wrap their minds around. It's funny. I was having a couple of good conversations in the chat too. You can go, Brad, I'll give you the mic in 1 second. A lot of people were saying, well, was Bungie looking to get acquired? They didn't have a sign outside, for sale. But they spoke with Microsoft. They spoke with others, and the deal that they cut with Sony was something that they get. But they were kind of looking to be acquired, I believe, probably behind the scenes, having discussions with a lot of different people.
They were flirting. I mean,
they were flirting, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, we have reports of them, Phil talking to them about coming back. But what's interesting, what Falky talked about, when I asked him, who's funding this, and when Falky said Sony, I think that really puts things in perspective. Like, if you don't deliver, we funded this, and on top of that, we spent $3 billion to acquire you. There's gonna the hammer's gonna come down.
A lot of people are talking about Bungie in the chat. I don't know why they're having Bungie and the IP that they have and the talent that they have there. I understand things are not doing well right now over there with upper management, but that's still a significant IP to have, And I mean, I really wanted to change subject. I wish I could have brought this up. I'll ask the great Chris Righteous. Chris, let me just ask you a top level question here. Just interested to hear your opinion on this. Chris, do you think that if Sony steps in and takes over and has, all the calls when it comes to Bungie, do future Destiny games coming down the road, or Marathon and the new AAA IP that they were working on, does that end up not falling in line with the old writing of their contract, and then Sony would keep these things on PlayStation 5 and PC only?
Absolutely. I think that will happen.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that was part of the contract of, you guys can remain multi-plat. So as long as you hit these metrics, and as long as you help us, what we need you for in terms of curating all these other live service projects that we have in the works. I think that was the main reason why they bought Bungie, for the talent expertise, mainly on live service.
Yep.
And and they really wanted that. They really wanted that expertise because they put most of their eggs in the live service baskets, even though we haven't really seen anything come from that other than Destruction All Stars or whatever. But there's only so much when it comes to businesses of these sizes and have these $100 million projects. There's only so much freedom that these studios can give before somebody steps in and be like, hey, we got what's going on, you guys,
right.
are failing to meet your metrics, and Sony will absolutely step in and get stuff in order. You know what I mean? I mean, they haven't always done it, right? They've let go of Japan studios because they were a mess. Sony didn't really step in and get them in order or anything like that. But I think for Bungie, because Bungie was a very expensive buy for them, relatively. What was it, like $4 billion? Yeah, they will definitely step in and be like, yeah, we're gonna have to change things around. Still give them the creative freedom, but I think there's a limit to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's a limit to that when you're dealing with hundreds of $1 million projects and things like that. So, yeah, I think if Sony did like a full takeover, I don't think it was a bad thing, because look at Sony's management, look at Sony's portfolio in terms of how they manage these studios and give them the time that they need to create very compelling games. So I don't think it's gonna be like people think like Sony is gonna be like an EA, you know what I mean, taking over microtransaction. No, it's not gonna be like that. But I think the Destiny train is kind of running its course.
right
Well,
about now.
it really is, honestly. I think you're 1,000% right on that. Like, I think that, and I know there's some Destiny fans in the chat right now, but like, I really enjoyed the first one. I even played the second one for quite some time. It's gotten a little long in the tooth. I think that it needs a refresh. It needs to look more new, current gen. I think that maybe, change something up, change things up a bit. Like, it's just, to me, it got stale. And I mean, even the people that I see that I follow, a lot of the hardcore Destiny people, they even seem bored. So it's like, do something else with it. You have this talent, make another type of MMO style thing, maybe a different world, a different environment, different characters, and let people start from scratch. I know they always say with these expansions, you can just jump in. I've jumped in at some of these expansions, and I got news for you. Yes, your level's the same set, but you don't have nearly the idea of what's going on with the lore. You have no idea. You don't have the amount of inventory that your friends have that have been playing it nonstop. So even though you can go and enjoy it, you're like, what is this? What's going on here? Who's that guy? You know what I mean? It's just, there's all, so you kind of feel lost in it. Start over again. Start something fresh. I think that would be something I do want to ask this one. And Brap, I did take the mic from you. Did you have something to add, Brap? I apologize.
Oh no, I was gonna say to Chris's point, like I don't know if they like I'm not so sure if it's like a live service game, if they would say, oh, we're gonna make that exclusive. And Chris, if I'm misquoting you, just let me know. But because live service games they thrive on communities, and so the more platforms your live service game is on, the better. Because you have more access to a broader community. So I don't know if that would change, but never say never, I guess.
Well, when it comes to Sony, I mean, we don't expect factions 2 to be on Xbox, right?
Right.
Well, no, but it would be on PC though. I mean,
yeah, of course. Yeah. I think majority of the live service games are going to be day and date on PC. But as far as like that whole going to Xbox. Yeah, I think they'll cut that off.
I could see that. I honestly could see that. I don't, not Destiny itself, but like possibly their new IP. Maybe even Ryan McCaffrey made a comment about it. He goes, I can tell you right now, he goes, if Sony ever did step in, he goes, I don't think you'd ever see Marathon the light of day on Xbox. PC, yes. PlayStation, yes. But not, I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like Sony would do that. But again, who knows? I do want to ask one last question here, and we can make it a fast Crossfire hot topic. Speed round coming up for you. BG, I'll start with you again here. What do you think of the GTA 6 reveal? Breaks the viewing records. First of all, what did you think of what you saw? And secondly, let me ask you about this. Well, it leaked. Good on Rockstar, right? To just be like, well, before you watch everybody leak it, here, watch ours. So what was supposed to be a big deal on Tuesday ended up being a bigger deal on Monday night. BG, what'd you think of the whole thing, the whole fiasco, the leak, and what'd you think of what you saw in the reveal?
Well, yeah, I mean, it leaked close. It leaked that night. They were going to upload it in the morning. I don't think it's the worst thing to happen to Rockstar. I mean, they broke like 3 records in 24 hours. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll get over it that their game leaked. So I'm sorry, I'm not crying for them. When their game comes out, it's going to sell 200 million copies. They're going to make $9 billion. Yeah. I think they'll be okay. So it's just hard for me to feel that bad for them. And as far as the game, I think this is going to be the best GTA game since San Andreas. 4, I wasn't a fan of 4 at all. 5 was good, but I think like the story and wasn't that great. And same. And I didn't like Trevor. I liked Michael and Franklin, but I feel like they didn't make major improvements to the games, whether it be the engine or the shooting and the movement and all those things. I feel like they kind of skimped out on that. But being that it's been 12 years since then, I hope to see the major improvements. Not and I'm talking about in the gameplay and how the game feels and plays. Not just making it a bigger and bigger world. That comes with every GTA is a bigger world, and so that's. But it from a story standpoint, this Bonnie and Clyde thing. Yeah. Her first female character, Latina, and and playing as a guy. I think the 3 character was too much. I think that splits too much.
I was just going to say that. Now, how do you think, BG? How do you think they're going to handle the 2? Will they handle it much like we just played with Spider-Man? Will they handle it that way, or are they not going to have it that way? Where we just play through as Lucia, and then you play through as the other person? Can't remember the guy's name. I was just looking it up. I can't find it.
I think it's Jason. I don't know if that's confirmed, but I think everybody said it was Jason.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's the rumor name, but nobody knows if it's confirmed.
So does that?
Okay.
So do you think that they'll just have missions where you play through in your Lucia, and then you'll play as Jason, or do you think you'll be able to switch back and forth? I didn't care for the way we switched back and forth in 5.
Yeah, I think you'll play as both. I didn't. The thing with 5 was I didn't do. Funny enough, I didn't do too much of switching in 5. I mainly played as one character, unless I absolutely had to. But with 2 characters, I probably won't mind switching that much. And at least based on this trailer, maybe when we get the second trailer and third trailer, it'll show like it'll be a little bit more even. Mm-hmm. But with this first trailer, it does seem like Lucia is the actual focus.
Yes,
and Jason is kind of secondary. But I do think we'll play as both.
Yeah, no, I definitely think as well. Chris, what'd you think? Did you like the reveal trailer? I kind of agree with PG. It's hard to really feel bad. I mean, you want to say, hey, I hate that it got leaked, right? For them, it's not good for the industry to see something like that happen when something so it's so coveted and it could still be like jailbroke. But I mean, Chris, what do you think? I mean, is this going to be something? I know the types of games you play, and knowing you, I would be shocked if you're wicked excited to play GTA 6, but who knows? I think we all bought GTA 5. Some of us bought it 2 or 3 times.
Wicked.
It's freaking Rockstar, man. Listen, it don't matter what type of gamer you are, whether you're a first-person shooter guy, whether you're a JRPG guy.
Yeah.
The whole world comes together for Rockstar games, right? For GTA. So yes, of course, I'm very excited. I like all the GTAs, including 4, right? I know some people didn't like 4, but I like all the GTAs. I like the Red Dead games, the Red Dead 2 games.
Yeah, Red Dead, absolutely.
I'm glad that they're going back to Vice City because Vice City personally is my favorite in terms of atmosphere. San Andreas is still my favorite in terms of like the gameplay, but Vice City is still like the whole vibe, the whole 80s Miami Vice vibe. That was my favorite, and it's in my home state too, right? I'm from Florida, right? So, I think the trailer looks stunning. I think the graphics look really good. It's going to be the most complex open world game. It's funny because I've been arguing with people about this all week. I truly believe that with GTA 6 is going to push these consoles to the max, and I think it's going to be a 30 FPS only game on the base consoles.
Wow.
I truly believe that because Rockstar puts so much attention to detail, and it's going to be so many systems running in the background that's going to be very heavy on the CPU, and the amount of NPCs and everything like that. And I think the final game will be very close to what we saw because Rockstar, they don't really downgrade their games, right? Usually what you see is what you get with them. And I think the story dynamic, having the first female protagonist in the 3D GTA series. I know people will bring up, well, GTA 1, you can pick up to 4 different females or whatever. Yeah, but to me, GTA 1 and 2 are very vastly different games from the 3D games. Like they're totally different types of games. So to me, I count this as the first female protagonist in terms of since GTA 3. And I'm very interested to see what the story is going to be like. This is going to be more like a Bonnie and Clyde type of game. And I'm very excited to see all the attention, because one thing I love about the Rockstar games is the attention to details, how interactable the NPCs are. I know some people try to use Spider-Man as the example of, well, if that can do 60 FPS, why can't GTA? Listen, I'm sorry, bro. The NPCs in Spider-Man have not evolved past the PS4. They're just more of them, and they're not as interactive or as intelligent or dynamic as what we get in like Red Dead 2 or the GTA game. So with that, I think the game is going to push the consoles to the max. I think it's going to be 30 FPS, and I think a lot of people are going to eat crow, just like they ate crow with Starfield, saying that they will never play a 30 FPS game. But I think with the PS4 Pro coming out, I think that's where we'll get our option, and that's where I will play the game on. But yeah, I think it was phenomenal. It broke records, the highest video game trailer ever. And yeah, it's Rockstar. So yeah, I'm super excited about this game.
You made a good point, Chris, and I'll give TrueWiddy his flower. He did agree with you. He said, he said GTA6 isn't the first female main GTA 1. You had options to be a female protagonist as well, which is what Chris just said. So yeah, I do. I'm also wicked excited, Chris, and I'm embarrassed to say I bought GTA 5 alone. I bought it. I believe it came out on the 360 era, right? Still, so I bought it on the 360. Then I bought it on the Xbox One. Then I bought it from PlayStation 5 and maybe even PC. Like, that's stupid. Now, not all full price. When I bought only one at full price. I think the rest of them when it was like, they've all been on sale for like under $20 or $10 at some point in time. I'm very excited for this. So, Roy, you got to be excited for this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is right up your alley.
Well, first of all, Mooch, what I want to ask is, I thought you were a New Yorker. I've never seen a New Yorker sound like a guy from Massachusetts so much saying "wicked," but just be like "wicked."
Am I throwing that out there too often? I guess.
What's that?
I guess I didn't even know I was. Did I say that too many times? I'll have to take that out of my.
No, I'm not saying it too many times. I'm like "wicked." Like every time I've heard "wicked," it's only from the people I've known in Massachusetts.
Generally,
I thought this guy was a Mets fan, not a Red Sox fan. But anyway, I digress. I want to say that I've never seen a video game depict the current state of the world or of our nation, of our whatever.
Yeah, they really are hitting home, right? They're really hitting home.
Holy cow! I mean, I love to say, what was it, the day after it came out, it was like, hey, do you want to know why GTA put this in this game? And then they put a comparison video to like actual real news life in the world.
Yeah, but that's a smart move, though, Roy. Think about it. That's a really smart move. It makes it so that you can automatically start to relate to the game, right? Because we read this,
exactly,
we see this.
And it's like it makes it like, yo, we're going for so much realism. We're not fake at all, and it's like so many people can relate. It's just, I love. It's just it just shows you why Rockstar is as good as they are, and no one will give a flying F if it comes out in 30 FPS. I'm telling you right now. So I'm super excited for the game, and I you know what, I don't know if it was GTA. No, it couldn't have been. I can't remember the last physical release I went to. I think it was in like 2013, 2014. And I'm like, you know what? If this game comes out for physical release, it's like, dude, I might have to go to the physical release. Really? You know, that would be really cool. Those used to be such a fun thing back in the day. I'm like,
you want the experience, which I don't blame you.
Yeah, and it's just like that, and which is another reason why it shows why Rockstar and Grand Theft Auto is such an amazing game. So yeah, I'm pumped for it, and I'm sure everyone else would agree. At first, I'm like, you know what? If GTA says it's coming out in 2024, it's going to get delayed because it always gets delayed. But I could still see it coming out in 2025. It's probably going to. They might say, like spring 2025. Like, whoops, it got delayed till late fall of 2025. So, but. Yeah, do whatever you got to do with that game, Rockstar. But what I saw, man, that looks amazing.
Good point, Ray. I'm actually shocked that it was 2025. I thought that was definitely coming in 24, end of 24 for sure. But BG, that's two people now on the panel, Chris Righteous and Roy, saying it doesn't matter. People will play this game at 30 frames. Now, BG, we all know you have a more than capable PC. I do as well. Brap does. I don't know if Chris Righteous, David, or Roy does, but BG, where will you play this game if it's 30 frames on console? Now, there is a rumor. There's nothing confirmed here, but they're saying that a PS5 Pro is seemingly coming out end of 24, so that maybe that this game would run at maybe a 1440p 60 on a PS5 Pro. If, let's say, hypothetically, BG, that Pro exists, where are you playing this game when you pick it up?
I mean, I'm definitely gonna be playing it on. I don't have a choice but to play it on console.
That's right. PC. I apologize. PC's a year later. You are right, BG. I apologize.
Yeah. So I'm not one of those people who were like, there's no way I'm not playing. There's no way I'm not playing a 30 FPS game. I've never been one of those people. I'm always going to advocate for the choice and the performance mode, but
Yes.
I'll never make a definitive statement that I'll never play at 30 FPS. So I'll just play it on consoles. I do hope the pro consoles are real. I've always advocated for them.
Me too.
I think some people were being a little short-sighted into thinking about the now. When the conversation about pro consoles started, and pro consoles are never about the now. They're never about the time that you start talking about them. It's always about the games that you don't see that are going to come 2-3 years later. That's when you need them. It's never about the early generation. So,
good point.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I want to see it in 60 FPS. I mean, who the fuck won it? And honestly, I'm actually kind of surprised that if it's gonna come out in 2025. Like, why? Oh, it's not 60 FPS. But people are gonna care about it being 30 FPS, just like people cared about boycotting Hogwarts because of the background of the writer.
Yeah.
It's just dumb Twitter it's just dumb Twitter banter, and
well, I think
no one's gonna give a shit. Gameplay is king, and I've said that before on your show before, Mooch.
Oh, yeah.
But like it's all about gameplay, and
well, I think it's like BG said.
No,
Roy, you make a good point too, and BG just said it. There's no way he's gonna miss out on that game. So, if he's got to play it at 30 frames, but I do think that we are probably looking at a Pro, at least a PS5 Pro. I don't know if Xbox is doing another console this generation. I won't speak the next generation.
I also wanted to ask, because this might be my last generation owning an Xbox because of how well you guys all speak of PC gaming. There was a little ad for a computer. So I'm very computer ignorant. I'm very PC ignorant. There was an ad for the laptop, right, in the Game Awards, and it wasn't that like a Windows thing. You guys know what I'm talking about? They're like, is this a 1950? I don't know. You guys come up with crazy numbers, right? And they're like, and they were playing Cyberpunk. They were playing Cyberpunk in the advertisement, and the guys are like, oh, the ray tracing is really cool. And they're like, what are you playing? This is a 1090 or whatever. And they're like, no, this is actually a 40. Windows.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
No, he said it was. They asked a bunch of people to come in and do like a test, and they said, what do you think you're playing on? He said, well, I can see the ray tracing. I can see this. It's moving unbelievably. The gameplay is amazing. It must be a 4090. And they kept saying 4090. And then they're like, no, you're playing on a Chromebook. And what they were talking about was the new GeForce Now experience. That's the cloud, their cloud. And I actually
which is Microsoft, correct?
No.
It's not. It has nothing to do, like, it is not Windows.
No, it's
NVIDIA.
It's NVIDIA, yeah.
Okay.
But anyway,
I'm completely ignorant to
there's a good number of people in our community that speak up about it, and they swear by it. So I myself personally would rather have the hardware, but if you like you said, Roy, you're not. That's just not your world. That's not what you want to do. That's probably your best. That's probably
intro
your best shot.
To PC gaming. That's what I'm asking to. Okay. Because I was thinking about it, but that also. I don't know. I just also think that when people talk about Xbox might be no more in the future, like that everyone jokes about that doomsday clock. It's like, I don't know. It's like,
I hear you.
Samsung TVs. It's like, okay, we're now doing PC laptops.
Well, they're definitely moving in that cloud, business formula. That's where they want to move to. Will there be another Xbox? I don't even say anything right now because everybody. There's definitely gonna be another Xbox next generation. That's fine. What kind of box it is, we were saying earlier, we don't know. We have no idea. Chris Righteous, you were gonna chime in on this, Chris, were you?
Oh no! I was just gonna say back to the 30 FPS. It's only gonna be a loud minority on Twitter that will say something, but they'll end up buying the game anyways. To me, it's all about stability, and if it has good motion blur. Like Horizon Zero Dawn on the PS4, it ran pretty good at a 30. But I think what could happen in terms of a performance option is for those of us that have VRR TVs, they could offer a 40 FPS mode at launch. You know what I mean? They could offer a 40 FPS mode at launch, and I think that'll probably be good. But knowing Rockstar, they're gonna want to push fidelity to the max. and they're gonna want all these physics and different dynamic things or whatever, and making a game at 30 FPS will help that out tremendously, and whatnot. But hopefully the Pro will be pushing, because you got to also think it took 2 console generations for us to finally get GTA 5 at 60 FPS. You know what I mean?
That's
like
right.
it took.
That's right.
It couldn't do it on PS4, so we had to wait to the PS5 to finally do it. You know,
That's
so
a very good point, Chris. Just to put things in perspective, for people to think that right out the gun it's going to be that way. It may not. It may, even the Pro, I think, would have to dumb down the resolution to get up to 60. So yeah, I definitely think that may be the case. Let's do this, guys. It is almost 10 o'clock here in New York. I've kept these guys from family, food, games. I want to say thanks to this amazing panel we have here. Outstanding panel we had with us.
Mooch?
Yes.
Mooch, I say, hey, I'm sorry, I know it's your show, but I gotta put you on a hot seat.
Oh, go ahead. I love it. It's Crossfire. Go ahead.
You're on the hot seat. All right. I got Mooch here on Crossfire. I got this guy. He's on the hot seat. You've been putting on Twitter a lot about those earbuds for Sony.
Oh yes. I was going to get into it. But
I just want a quick question, then we'll get out of here.
Go ahead.
Do they have a mic?
Yes.
Okay, so they do act as like AirPods.
Yeah, I have not used them in that fashion, but I'm
not saying they have a microphone, right? They act as a mic, correct?
Yes.
Okay, they better for $200. They better. I was just wondering.
Well, because they legitimately, because they're meant to also link with your phone, so you can actually have an incoming call and divvy that separately from your gaming experience. It's an outstanding.
Okay.
Listen,
because you related to the 360 little mic, the Bluetooth, and it's like, I need that because. I'll jump in a party with some friends while I'm cooking dinner. It's I don't want to wear this damn headset.
I can't explain it to you guys, and I won't go into a huge level of detail. I'll send that. I was planning to do much like the great Jay Bari and Persona we're going to do. I was going to do an independent video on it, just going over the Portal and those earbuds next week. I'll tell you this much. The thing about it is I have headsets. Everybody in this panel, everybody in the chat, everybody's got a ton of headsets. I don't always like wearing a big, heavy headset to sit down and game, right? But I also don't want to enjoy the crappy speakers coming off the TV. So there's a really nice in-between. I'm not saying that these earbuds are going to replace your $350 Astro A50s. I'm not saying that. But there's a comfortability when I'm playing a game that these give me the 3D pulse, and I can just put an earbud in. You can put one in, you can put in two. And you can just sit there and not have this headset. It's like you get home. You know what I mean? You always wear a baseball cap, this and that. But when I get home, I don't wear a baseball cap around the house. I don't want to wear the headset. You want to just have your you know what I mean? Be free. And I'll tell you, it really works well with the Portal. I know that people are upset with the Bluetooth. That's fine. You can be upset with the Bluetooth. Up until I got these earbuds, I've been using the Portal with a pair of the HyperX. And I plugged the 3.5 millimeter jack in the back, and it's fine. The earbuds are what makes this a real premium device. Now, I know that some people put 20 grand.
Okay, 200 or could you give me 150?
Wait, should they have charged 150?
No, I'm saying, is it really worth 200?
Well, I mean, listen, I'm a Mooch.
I mean,
I would have liked them to be free. But it is what it is. That's not the world we live in. So I think when it comes down to it, is the $200. I say to people this all the time. If you don't want to be an early adopter, you don't want to pay for this, I'm sure those earbuds in the next whatever, I'm saying 6 to 12 months, you might go, I'm not waiting that long. That's up to you. But in the next 6 to 12 months, you could probably get those earbuds for $150, $149.99. But is it worth that? For me, it's worth that. But, value's in the eye of the beholder, right? That's what people always say, Game Pass is great. It is great. But if you're not playing the 200 games in that, and you already have 200 games in your backlog, is it worth $16.99 a month? That's up to you to answer.
Everyone in the chat's like, no, another hour.
I know, right? Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, this is the post.
I can go on for days about that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
hey, you said, okay, so you already purchased them?
Yeah, they're right here. They're right next to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mooch, I've had a lot of wine tonight, and I blame Brap's cocktail hour.
It's fine to blame Brap on Friday for
I'm sorry for holding the chat hostage.
No, it's fine, buddy. Sounds good. Like I said, shout out to Roy for doing that and bringing me onto the hot seat. I love that. Ask a question anytime you want. But I do want to say, let's go and enjoy this weekend. What a gaming week we had. Everything from the GTA 6 reveal. We had games come out. I am going to be playing a lot of Resident Evil 4 Remake on PSVR 2. BG, I'm actually shocked. I'm not going to blow your spot up, but BG, there's a chance you're probably going to even stream it. Like, it's going to be great, right? I mean, I'm very excited for this. Probably one of the best. I've been waiting for this VR game to come out since the remake came out. I've been wanting to play this thing on VR. So I'm very excited to be able to play that. And it's a free, if you own the game on PlayStation, you get to play the PSVR 2 version of it, I believe, on the house. I think it's free. There's no update price for that. But I mean, I'm looking forward to that. We had a lot of game announcements, the Game Awards, and of course, we end the week with Crossfires. You end the week and start your gaming weekend. That being said, I'll kind of go in reverse order here and say, Roy, thank you for being on the show tonight, buddy. Let people know where they can find you, and I look forward to your return to the show, bud.
Hey, it's always an honor to be on the show, for real.
Thank you.
You have a lot of great guests and great panelists, so
Outstanding
I'm happy to be on.
yes.
I actually stream on Rumble. It's kind of growing. It's I went on, what was I, on Twitch, and then it got, it's oversaturated. So I went on Rumble, found a decent community. But I really, my channel, I still post videos on YouTube when I make reviews.
Mm-hmm.
This was my first year of like content creating, and I just slow start, but I'm getting some good videos out there. And my channel really revolves just around talking about the games, and I appreciate all the criticism you have. Like, please go check out my reviews. I did a Spider-Man 2 review. I did a Liza P review. Go check them out. Your boy Roy on YouTube or Rumble, 2 eyes in the boy. But hey, thanks for getting me on. I'm probably going to be playing and streaming Fortnite all weekend and just enjoying and relaxing, playing some games for the holidays.
I appreciate it, Roy. Thanks for being here tonight, buddy, and great plug. The great David Faulkner. David said, you guys talk amongst yourselves. I have no problem staying here. For David, it's something about like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, probably in the afternoon right now. So he's like, listen, I'm going to go ahead and enjoy this show, and then I'm going to go and make dinner reservations somewhere. So, David, thanks for being here tonight, buddy. I really appreciate it. And on short notice, outstanding to have you and your intake, or your take on these. Like, I saw you going off on the whole thing that was going on with Bungie. I said, I got to get him on here. He knows his numbers better than anybody else I know on Twitter. But David, thanks for being here tonight, buddy. Let people know where they can find you. I appreciate you being here on short notice.
No dramas at all. Pleasure to be here. Your negotiating skills are quite good still. You find me on Twitter at Forky87. You see me poking around on a few different podcasts. But if you got any questions, queries, comments about the show, hit us up on Twitter and we'll sort you out.
Appreciate that, David. And the great Chris Righteous. Chris, outstanding to have you on with us tonight, too. Great topics, great debate back and forth. Love to get your take on everything that was going on in the week. Let people know where they can find you. And thanks for being here tonight, Chris.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. I'm always down to come on, and I love being on here. It's always a great time.
Thank you.
And yeah, y'all could just find me on Twitter at Chris Righteous. I do some gaming space from every time. It's some pretty entertaining ones, I think so. Every now and again, if y'all want to go check those out. And yeah, man, shout out to Baldur's Gate 3 for winning Game of the Year. I put 150 hours in that game. That game was really good. I think it deserves it. But I think the true Game of the Year, we all know, is Liza P. I just want to shout that.
I knew that was coming, Chris. You got to sneak that in there at the end.
I'm about it, Chris. I'm about it.
Shout out to Chris. That's one of the games I'm still waiting. I was going to grab that. I know I believe it's on Game Pass, but I was also going to pick it up if it was on sale this holiday for PlayStation as well. I've become like this trophy. Now I'm looking for trophies every time I play a game, nonetheless.
Very difficult Souls-like.
Yes,
difficult.
well, I played the demo, so and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
For it, and yeah, it's pretty challenging, but it's not. If you played Souls games and beat Souls games before, it's nothing you can't handle.
Yeah, you'll beat it.
Well, I'm looking forward to giving it a shot. Maybe that'll be one of the games. I've got like 8 games I want to play, and I only have like a couple of days off for the holiday. Nonetheless, BG, thanks so much for being here tonight as well. BG, we reached out a few weeks ago, made the schedule work for tonight. Great night to have you on. A lot of topics, a lot of things that people are kind of all over the place on. Glad you can kind of contribute and make it such an entertaining show. BG, let people know where they can find you, and can't wait till you return to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Weapon World podcast are Sundays at 5 p.m. We changed to 5 p.m. so we can get on a little bit earlier. So yeah, check us out. Appreciate the invite. About to go lay it down.
Appreciate it, BG. Definitely going to check out the channel. BG, are you going to do any streaming of RE4 this weekend on VR?
I know for the rest of the month, man, I'm taking it easy. I'm pretty much starting my vacation. Like I'm treating the whole month like a vacation now.
I don't blame you one bit. I don't blame you one bit. In the news, I got to be honest with you, right after the Game Awards, the news slows to a creeping halt. So there's not a lot to really cover. But guys, I will be back. I believe next week we're going to be back. Got a special guest that'll be on the show, and then I'm also going to probably be taking a little bit of a break as we go to the end of December. So I'll let you guys know and keep you posted on Twitter, X, of course, and here as well. Please, on the way out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Consider becoming a Mooch Maniac family member and hitting that join button. We'll see you next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Go play some games. And if you didn't, go check out that award ceremony from yesterday. It was actually pretty good. All right, we'll see you guys later. Enjoy the weekend. Peace out.
Yep.